in your time, Craig, so we're finishing off with that one today.
Genuinely before my time. Like, really is before my time.
Well, we're not getting to that.
You don't believe me?
No, I don't believe
is.
you.
When did that come out? That must have been mid-80s.
83, you would say?
I was a child. No way. No Bananarama for me. But still, good tune.
Just to cheer you up on a Monday morning.
Thanks so much.
Cheers, Greg. Thanks a lot.
As you did all morning. Thanks so much, Marty. That's Marty Friel. And Lee Gucci's back on 6:30 tomorrow. Okay, well done to you, Marty. Thanks so very much indeed. It's 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update. Indeed, it's just turning a minute past 9. And it's over to Michaela Clark. Good morning, Michaela.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. St Eunan's Cathedral in Letterkenny has downplayed an incident at Mass yesterday. There are reports that a man had to be escorted from the cathedral during 8 a.m. Mass as he approached the altar while communion was being prepared. However, in a statement issued on social media, St Eunan's Cathedral claims reports are exaggerated. They say a person who did behave unusually was asked if they needed assistance, after which they left on their own accord and without incident. Emergency services remain at the scene of a crash in Inishowen. The collision on the Clara Road in the Red Castle area occurred earlier this morning. The road is currently closed and no further details are known at this time. Conor McGregor has withdrawn from the presidential election campaign. He posted on X earlier announcing he will no longer be seeking a nomination to appear on next month's ballot. The former MMA fighter claims the country is constrained by the straitjacket of an outdated constitution preventing him from running. He was due to address councils today but told supporters this won't be his last attempt to run for election. Pat Leahy, political editor of the Irish Times, says other independent candidates will still be presenting throughout the day.
It's a sort of a super Monday. Today there's 11 county councils are meeting today, and independent candidates that are serious about trying to get a nomination are travelling to a number of them. They've spoken to councillors in the others. But Conor McGregor was never a serious candidate.
There's reports of flooding in parts of Donegal following heavy rain. A Stanislaw rain warning is in place for the county until 5 o'clock this evening. Motorists are urged to drive with caution due to difficult travelling conditions. And the Buncrana Nighttime Economy Action Plan 2025-2026 has been officially launched. This marks a major milestone in enhancing the town's after-dark culture, community and economy. Katie Gillen reports.
Developed by Donegal County Council in line with the National Nighttime Economy Task Force report, the action plan sets out a framework across 5 key pillars: governance and sustainability, transport and access, placemaking and public realm, safety and security, and activation and engagement. The plan aims to strengthen local business, improve safety, enhance public spaces and expand cultural and recreational opportunities for residents and visitors after 6 p.m. The launch event featured contributions from John G. McLaughlin, Chief Executive of Donegal County Council, and Councillor Paul Canning Hirlock of Donegal County Council. Charlie McConlogue, Minister of State at the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sport and Media, delivered a keynote address. He said the plan reflects the voices of residents and stakeholders and puts Buncrana at the heart of Ireland's journey to develop a nighttime economy that is diverse, sustainable and welcoming. The plan will now guide delivery through 2025-2026 with a dedicated steering committee, national partners and the Nighttime Economy Advisor working alongside the community to bring the vision to life.
Weather now windy today with widespread showers or longer spells of rain. The rain will be heavy at times with spot flooding possible and the chance of thunder. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Some things you love shopping for. Home insurance? Not so much. But peace of mind matters. And with An Post Insurance, you get quality cover, great value and protection for your home and its contents. And right now, if you get a new home policy, you could win a €1,000 voucher for Woodies. For something you'll actually enjoy shopping for. Get a quote today at onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. See onpostinsurance.ie/promotions. Competition closes end of month. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as An Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello! Hello. Good morning. You're very welcome along to another week of the 9 till Noon Show. 5 minutes past 9 on this Monday. It is the 15th of September 2025. I hope you had a lovely weekend. It's great to have you on board. We've got a great show for you today, and we've got Caroline, our own Caroline Allback, after her well-deserved break. So if you want to chat to Caroline or Shannon on the show, you can get in touch by WhatsApp and text to 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. You can give us a call on 07491 25,000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. If something you noticed over the weekend, something happened to you, something you think we should be talking about, please do get in touch. Pass on your good news stories too. We always love to hear those. And just to invite you to watch the programme if it suits you, or if you want to catch up a little later on if you're in the car right now. We're on the YouTube app on your smart TV or your Fire Stick. Great for watching content back that as well, by the way, even if you don't join us live. We're across our Facebook pages and on the X platform as well. Let's have a look at the papers for this Monday morning. The Derry People Donegal News. And I was chatting to lots and lots and lots of people over the weekend, even though I wasn't out and about much. But everyone had a story to tell about Victor Fisher. He was remembered yesterday as a man of faith, a family man and a dedicated community stalwart at his funeral mass. A well-known and hugely respected member of the community, Victor died at his home on Friday, aged 85. And we'll be paying tribute to Mr. Fisher a little later on in the programme. Of course, here at Highland Radio, we had a lot of engagement with Mr. Fisher, and Victor was obviously a very good politician, very loyal, and also too a glint in the eye and good fun when the mic was off or before it went on as well. So all round, my experiences with Victor Fisher always very positive. And in a fitting tribute, Letterkenny Rovers formed a guard of honour outside St Eunan's Cathedral in Letterkenny to honour their club president, a role in which Victor was proud to hold since 2023. He was a valued member of the club and committee for many years. Former town councillors, county councillors and Donegal County Council officials were among those in attendance to bid farewell to a man who had done so much good for the town and people of Letterkenny. Born in Ramelton, Victor and his family moved to Letterkenny when he was a young boy, and he often spoke with great pride of his memories of growing up in the town where he would make such a major impact in his life. He was a businessman, a politician and an active community member, and Victor was a constant presence on Main Street for many years with Victor's Gift Shop. And, there are people that are of Letterkenny, part of Letterkenny and everything you associate with Letterkenny. And Victor Fisher was one of those gentlemen, and we'll speak more about Victor a little later on in the programme. The Derry News this morning, the trial of a former British soldier charged with murder in relation to Bloody Sunday is due to get underway at the Royal Courts of Justice in Belfast today. Soldier F is charged with murder in relation to the killings of James Ray and William McKinney. Soldier F, who cannot be named due to a court order, has also pleaded not guilty to 5 counts of attempted to murder Patrick O'Donnell, Joseph Friel, Joe Mahan, Michael Quinn, and unknown persons on the same date. Victims' family members will gather at Cromack Street car park at 9 a.m. and will walk to the court for 9:30 a.m. The event has been organised by the Bloody Sunday Trust, so potentially significant. Lots of stories in the national newspapers about driving. There's just one of those themes: learner drivers, disqualified drivers, drunk drivers. So I'm going to touch on those. As I say, there's just quite a number of important ones. And this is one I still can never get my head around, because I don't understand how so many people know how you can sort of circumvent this part of the law. But anyway, just 1 in 16 motorists who were disqualified from driving surrendered their licences. The revelation came as leading road safety campaign group Park said it was a matter of major concern that such a small proportion of drivers surrendered their licences to the Road Safety Authority as required by law following a disqualification. Of the 6,165 motorists disqualified for driving offences on Irish roads between January 1st and July 31st this year, just 364 surrendered their licences. This equates to just 1 motorist in every 16 disqualified from driving. New figures released to TD Emer Curry by the Department of Transport found that the highest rate of licence surrender compliance was in Mayo, though this still only amounted to 16%. The lowest rate of licence surrender was in Monaghan, where just 2% of motorists, or only one driver in 50, surrendered their licences after being disqualified. Dublin 3%, Cork 8%, Galway 8.5%, Waterford 7%, and Limerick 6% all had licence surrendered rates in single digits. Ms. Curry warned that the legal obligation on motorists to surrender their licences after a disqualification needs to be enforced. So where is everyone getting this info? It's a question I still haven't really gotten to the bottom of. I mean, I'd be the idiot, first and foremost, for being in a situation to lose my licence, but they would say, you must surrender your licence. And I would say, well, I've got it with me. Here, take it. Sorry, I shouldn't have done what I did. But obviously, there is common knowledge that you don't really need to surrender your license, and I don't really know what people are holding onto the licenses for. Is it for identification purposes or denial or whatever it is? I don't know. But for those found guilty of drink driving, they might find themselves getting off with their charges. The Director of Public Prosecutions is set to appeal a significant High Court decision with potential adverse implications for thousands of drink driving prosecutions. This is in the Irish Times. The judgment concerns legal requirements governing the custody of blood and urine specimens taken from suspected drink drivers up to when they are transferred for analysis. Because of a break in the chain of custody of a blood specimen taken from a man, Mr. Justice Sarah Phelan held he was entitled to an order overturning his January 2024 drink driving conviction and 2-year driving ban. So effectively, after the blood was taken and before it was sent to wherever it might be sent to confirm the drink driving level, there's not a very clear understanding of where that vial actually is in that process. At least there wasn't in this particular case, which is, I suppose, something that shouldn't be the case. You know, all laws need to be challenged to make sure the rules we live under are properly and correctly enforced. Right, so he got a 2-year drink driving conviction, but that was overturned. Well, her decision identified an inconsistency in the law, and she said it is for the state to identify how to address that. Acknowledging her judgment delivered in late July was likely to have implications beyond the man's case, she said it will not take effect until final orders are made in October. And once the final orders are made, the DPP has 28 days to appeal, a step it has signalled it will take. Each year, the courts deal with up to 7,000 drink driving prosecutions based on blood urine specimens. So we'll see. As you heard overnight, Conor McGregor has realised he doesn't have a chance of getting on the ballot paper. So rather than take any responsibility as to why that might be, he's blamed the system, though I do appreciate many of you might agree with that, because that comes in over the course of our days talking about this type of stuff. But apparently the race is wide open as over a third remain undecided, and that's if that third decide to vote. With just under 6 weeks to go to the presidential election, Fine Gael's Heather Humphreys has a slight lead yesterday, according to a poll release yesterday, I should say. The former minister and one-time Fine Gael TD for Cavan Monaghan is on 22%, 4 points ahead of rival Jim Gavin of Fianna Fáil on 18%. I saw him on the farm yesterday in a pair of white trousers as part of some sort of a promotional visit. It's not the norm, Jim, but anyway. 1 point behind the former Dublin football Bannister is independent Galway TD Catherine Connolly on 17%. Catherine was on with us on Friday as part of her visit, and fair play to her for coming in, because we were in an outside broadcast. It was a very noisy sort of atmosphere, and not normally the type of atmosphere you talk to a potential presidential not a potential, but an actual presidential candidate. But we had a mixed response to that interview, to be honest with you. I have the text. I did promise on Friday to carry those texts over to today. But I think some people were a little bit put off because of, you know, the political space she comes from, and the fact that she's an independent and so on and so forth, that, you know, she herself really kind of watered down the role of the president in terms of, you know, maybe the scrutinization of changes to legislation, etc. She seemed to sort of suggest that she'll speak to her team if there's something that she feels could be the president effectively, if she believes or he believes something is anti our constitution. It can be referred to the Supreme Court, but I've heard this thing before. Well, if you refer it to the Supreme Court, then it can never be ever challenged again, and it's best not to do that. And then it really effectively comes down to a president will sign anything, because there's always those outs on it. And maybe that's not a big deal, but it did seem to bother some of our listeners. Let me see, what else? Oh, in a surprise revelation, nearly a third, or 29% of Fianna Fáil voters said they would vote for Miss Humphreys, while 12% of Fine Gael voters said they'd give Mr Gavin their first preference votes. Look, there's Fianna Fáil people will settle down a little bit and get behind their candidate. Obviously, when you've just had a competition, between the likes of, Bertie Ahern wasn't in it, Kelleher, Gavin, it's going to take a while. That number will drop down naturally. Sad news from the world of sport over the weekend. Ricky Hatton, and any of you who follow boxing or have followed boxing would have been there, not literally in person, but certainly on some of the big nights he brought to British and Irish boxing, and also the massive nights he brought to Manchester. He truly was a superstar of boxing, and he had it all. But like so many of us, and many of you listening there, success, money, a good family, sometimes it doesn't keep the demons away. And he was a man that suffered greatly with depression, and even himself, he couldn't reconcile how he could, have so many fantastic memories, having been so successful, to be adored, but when the doors closed, he had this, I think he described it as thing on his shoulder. So he did suffer with that, and drug addiction as well. And he had a tough old life of it, and recently had become a big advocate for this supreme CBD oil that a lot of former sports people seem to be promoting on social media. But anyway, very sadly, he passed away. The sporting world was in shock yesterday after the death of Ricky Hatton, aged 46, with celebrity friends paying tribute to the boxing legend who fought a brave mental health battle outside the ring. The hitman was found dead at his home in Hyde, Greater Manchester, after concerns were raised when he didn't show up at a boxing match and also missed a planned gym session. There was a minute's applause at the Manchester Derby as the former world champion's face was shown on the giant screen. He'd been expected to watch his beloved Manchester City play United. It remained unclear how Hatton died, but police said there were no suspicious circumstances. Officers attended his home at 6:45 a.m. after a call from the public. So, and kind of ironically, you would have imagined that he'd have been enthralled in what was a great weekend of boxing. Belfast's Lewis Crocker became a world champion. This after history was made. Lewis Crocker and Paddy Donovan, two Irishmen fighting for a significant world title in Belfast, Windsor Park. It didn't rain. The weather was great. It was a great show, and Lewis Crocker controversially got the win there. And then later that night, Canelo versus Crawford, one of the biggest fights in a long, long time, one of those crossover fights. It was on Netflix, and the skill of Crawford doing a job on the legend that is Canelo. So you had the best of boxing in the ring, and then you had the worst news then after all of one of the legends of boxing on our islands here sadly passing away. And returning to talk of driving, and this is going to have an impact on people, there's no doubt about that. Learner drivers who fail their test twice will be forced to take more lessons under new government proposals. I wonder what you think of this. Trainee motorists will also be required to sit a driving test after their third learner permit in the new Get Tough rules. Now, I think we kind of get the tests out of the way and say, right, we've got the tests. Now I'm just going to keep doing my we've got the lessons. Now I'm going to keep doing my test till I get over the line. And perhaps maybe the same people are doing it over and over again and making the same mistakes. But under new regulations, and maybe this is not a bad thing, though it sounds like more money, learner drivers who fail their test twice will be forced to take more lessons. And also, you're not going to be able to just perpetually renew your learner permit. There are some people who have been doing that for years and years and years. You will have to sit a test after the third renewal, or else you won't be able to. Now, I'm not obsessed with driving stories. It just so happens there are a ton of them in the papers this morning.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Running a business isn't easy, but accessing support should be. The new National Enterprise Hub is the single source for all government support for your business. With over 180 supports in one place, it's easier than ever to find grants, advice, training, and more. And don't worry about not knowing what you need. Our helpful team will guide you every step of the way. Visit neh.gov.ie to learn how we can help. The National Enterprise Hub. Support starts here, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Make it happen at Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers in Letterkenny, where they compare quotes from all the leading insurers so you save money and time. Home, car or van, farm, commercial or public liability, they cover it all. Call 9126688 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan, the local name you can trust, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Let's talk about media literacy with Adult Literacy for Life. Media literacy helps us to better access services, figure out what's true, and engage confidently with media and information. Literacy is more than just reading and writing. Learn more about media literacy at adultliteracyforlife.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland and Solus.
For schools, colleges and workplaces, BizPrint can take care of all your printing needs. Books, posters, pop-up displays and much more. Call BizPrint on 9177955 or see bizprint.ie.
Hi, Gavin here from Divers Hyundai in Letterkenny to tell you about 2 Grand Tuesday, our one-off used car sale event. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 16th, all used cars at Divers will have €2,000 off the listed prices online. Yes, 2 grand off every car for one day only. No gimmicks, no games, no joke. That's tomorrow, Tuesday, at Divers Hyundai Canal Road, Letterkenny. We'll be open 8 till 8 on the day. For details, see diversgarage.ie.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now, 22 minutes past 9. You're very welcome back to the programme. And we are to remember now the late Victor Fisher. He was a family man, a businessman, a politician, and gave so much of himself to the town he loved so well, that being Letterkenny. Councillor Kieran Broke and Cahirlock of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. You are there, Kieran, are you?
Morning, Greg.
Okay, sorry, that's my fault. And Brian McCormick, Treasurer of Letterkenny Rovers Football Club. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Greg.
We might start, and my condolences to both of you as well. I know we're here to remember and pay tribute to Victor Fisher, but there's a personal loss for you two guys as well. So our condolences to you. Brian, we'll talk about Victor's politics with Kieran and other aspects of his life. But two other great passions of his, business and sport as well, not least Letterkenny Rovers FC.
Indeed. Victor, as we all know, was rather infectious. He had a love for sport, and he's a community man, as everyone keeps saying, and that's indeed what he was. And when he entered the room at any meeting, Victor would always partake and encourage. That was mentioned at the Mass yesterday, how much encouragement he gave his family. And I think, in fairness, he did the same to Letterkenny Rovers, and we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, a lot of it's the day-to-day stuff, and the internet's running a club, and a big part of that's fundraising, isn't it, and keeping the lights on. And Victor was very active in that part as well.
Well, he was, and I mean, we were very lucky to have him. I mean, there's one story that when it was mentioned there might be a possibility of starting a bingo on a Thursday night. It was about 15 years ago, and I would say within if it was 2 days max, we had it turned around and set up, and we haven't looked back since. And that was down to his energy and just he had experience with it as well, and we're very grateful for that energy that he had.
Indeed, and he was elevated then to position of club president, and a position he held since 2023. I can only imagine the honour that was for him. I presume he related that to you, Brian.
Yes, indeed. He's very, very, very proud, and you know, Victor, you know, it was a very a man that would find it. He's one of us, and he enjoyed partaking, and he enjoyed being involved, and he enjoyed sport, and he a president is like an honorary role as well. It's a sign of respect for him, and anything that was ever asked of him, no better man than Victor, and he always had Letterkenny Rovers in mind, and is very decent to us.
Of course, too, you would have known Victor in the business sense as well, too. Your shop not too far from Victor's gift shop either.
No, Victor's a neighbour, and you'd always see his wife Helen and Victor and his sons, and mainly David, about, and always that shop was historic, Victor's gift shop. When I opened up back in 1995, Victor was one of the stalwarts there. And another ironic thing was said last yesterday is Victor never worked a day in his life, and that's only true because Victor worked every day of his life, but Victor didn't see it as work.
Yeah.
He enjoyed it, and that's a testament to him. And a big family man, you can see that. He's always surrounded by his family, and always very busy. But a good business, and it was a pleasure to know him, because he was a decent person.
Yeah, indeed. Councillor Kieran Brogan. You know, we'll talk about the politics as part of this conversation as well too, but I'm always amazed, Kieran, at people. And there's not many of them, but every community has them, where they sort of, everything that they do seems to be focused on the community, whether it is, you know, advocating for businesses, whether it's supporting local clubs, whether it's, you know, working with tidy towns groups or whatever it might be, you know, and Victor was one of those that would have been a very passionate lover of his town, and worked his entire life in one form or of another to try and better that. I always have nothing but absolute respect for people like Victor in that regard.
Yeah, well, when one word that comes to me when I talk about former Councillor Victor Fisher, the late Victor Fisher, and that is passion. And anything he was involved in, he was hugely passionate about it. So the first passion he had, obviously, was his own family, Helen, his wife, and David and Kevin and Barry and Mairead. And he talked about them an awful lot and their lives, and of course their grandchildren when they came along as well. That was his number one priority. Everything else that came after that was about the family and everybody around him. And I suppose business, he was in the heart of Letterkenny for the best part of his life. And I suppose back in the days, he talked about his days in houses, the people he worked with and the people he met over the years. And Letterkenny was a different town back then, and I suppose sort of a market town, and people came into Letterkenny over the years, and he got to know them. But they trusted Victor, and they enjoyed him, and he enjoyed meeting people, he enjoyed helping people. And I suppose he went on from that journey then to be able to set up his own business in Victor's gift shop, again in the main street just next door to where Harris's used to be. And I think that was a significant milestone for him. It was something that he seen was I suppose a huge level of satisfaction. And then during that time as well, that he was working in the Golden Grill alongside his former colleague and friend Bernard Rodenci, and indeed all the people who worked in the Golden Grill at that time. And then being selected and elected onto the Urban District Council at Canny in 1985, where he served up until the town councils were abolished in 2014. So everything he did was about being involved with the people, and sport was a big part of his life, always, very much involved in the early days of Letterkenny District Schoolboys League. But then, I suppose, Finn Harps at the time being heavily involved in Finn Harps over the years, and then involved in Letterkenny Rovers then, in more recent years, and his son-in-law Johnny Minnick, of course, will play for Finn Harps and went on to play for Letterkenny Rovers. But Victor was just happy when he was among the people, happy when he was helping people, and that's what he enjoyed. And I suppose, as fellow Gillespie said yesterday, that David had told him that he said himself it didn't feel that he worked one day in his life because it didn't feel like work for him. He enjoyed it so much. And Victor did really enjoy it. He enjoyed the politics. He enjoyed being involved and all things was good. And I suppose if one looks at Letterkenny now, Victor in his lifetime probably seen the biggest change that many of us will see in our lifetime around Letterkenny, the growth of the university status of the ATU, the growth of the hospitals, but the employment centres and the retail offering as well around the town. And he was always very, very passionate about everything was good about Letterkenny and the council and his people. And I mean, there was great camaraderie on the council back then, and you know, his motions and anything he put forward. But he also was that heartbeat of the main street. If you wanted to know how things was going, Victor was the person that you would ask, and he enjoyed that. He enjoyed people.
He first elected onto the Urban District Council in 1985 and was successful in contesting 4 more elections. You would have sat alongside him from, 99 onwards? You'd have served on the same local authority as him, or the town council at that time, was it?
Yeah, from 1990 to 2014. It was a great council back then. It was different, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was a smaller town when you had the Urban District Council. And I suppose there were some great people. There's a lot of changes since then. And I suppose he was a huge fan of Highland Radio, let me add. And there was a lot of radio discussion and debate back at them times. And I suppose that first council would have involved myself and the late Councillor Desi Larkin, Terry McInniff, Jean Crossan, Victor, Sean Maloney, the late Jim Lynch, and the late PG Blake, and Jimmy Hart. So it was different back then, but I'll tell you, there was a lot of experience around that table, and I suppose there was a lot of big decisions that was taken by them councils back in the day. And of course, then you had the council of 4 to 09 and 09 to 14, where the town council was abolished. So, but Victor was always very much involved in that, and his shop in the main street was very much, I suppose, where a lot of discussions took place. He enjoyed people coming into the shop, and maybe sometimes they only come on for the crack rather than buying anything, but he enjoyed that too. But he was involved in many great debates, and he loved the debates. Highland Radio would have been on in the shop the whole time, and some of the biggest political debates of all time took place during them times. And I suppose everything was much different, and even his relationship with all the media was something else, because everybody knew Victor from the days at the Grill, and Victor just had his own brand as being Victor, and I think that's what was great about Victor, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like one of those one names. One name, like if you'd have mentioned Victor, people would have known who you're talking about, you know.
Yeah.
And what an amazing legacy as well. It's a very difficult time for his family, of course, and for his friends and colleagues and what have you. But, you know, I would love to be able to look back, you know, at the end of my life and have achieved a fraction of what someone like, and specifically Victor Fisher, had achieved. You know, he's like, the stuff he has done, like his legacy lives on, you know, perpetually. And I think that's, I hope that his family, and I'm sure they will, because they know it more than anyone, get great comfort from that, you know, that he's had such an impact that it's ever present.
There's absolutely no doubt, and his family knows that and feels it very well, and could feel it. I mean, he had a huge funeral yesterday in Letterkenny, and of course there was a huge attendance from many elected Fianna Fáil representatives, former Minister Dr. James McDade, but there was a lot of representation right across the political divide, from representatives of Sinn Féin, Fine Gael, and all parties and none, if you like, because everyone, I suppose, maybe politics is a bit different now, but there was always very much a personal relationship, and the politics was more about policies, and I think there was always very, very good, warm relationships over the years. So if there's such a thing, it was a lovely funeral, and a lovely I suppose people telling their own story of their journey and how they met Victor over the years, and that's nice for the family as well, and particularly the grandchildren and all, because you know, that's the important things in life, I suppose. But Victor has left a huge legacy in so many good ways, in enjoying and helping people, and having good crack along the way. And whether that was about the snowball at the bingo, or about the lottos in Letterkenny Rover, the stories in the main street, or the match indeed. Many's a match he travelled to up and down the country, never mind the county, and enjoyed all that. But he just enjoyed meeting people, enjoyed being part of it, and I suppose family was always first and foremost, but he was that sort of a heartbeat in Letterkenny that will be really, really missed by many people now.
Oh, for sure. Listen, thanks so much, Kieran. I do appreciate it, Councillor Kieran Brogan. And thanks to you, Brian, as well. I do appreciate your time this morning.
You're welcome, Greg.
Okay, bye-bye. That's Brian McCormick, Treasurer of Letterkenny Rovers Club, businessman as well, and Councillor Kieran Brogan, Cahirlock of Letterkenny, Milford Municipal District, and Victor, predeceased by his parents George and Francis, baby brother Terence and Carl, sisters Isabel and Georgina, and of course leaves behind his wife Helen, daughter Mairead, sons David, Kevin and Barry, grandchildren Jordan, Tori, Dara, Luke, Renee, Rudy, Noah, Theo, Kyrie, Casey May, and great-grandsons Leo, sister Eileen, in-laws, relatives, neighbours and friends, and a lot of memories and a great legacy as well. Our thoughts are with Helen and all of the family and those affected by his passing.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
If you're aged 59 to 70, we will invite you for a free HSE bowel screening home test. Screening can help find signs of bowel cancer early, before any symptoms show, making it easier to treat.
September has arrived and your local Maple store has everything you need for a fresh new season. From tasty lunchbox fillers to warm autumn treats and all your everyday essentials. Maple has everything you need under one roof. Quick, easy and always local. Call into Maple Milford, Maple Express Carrigard, Falcarra Castlefin or your nearest Maple store. Keeping it fresh, local and convenient. Don't forget to follow your local Maple store on Facebook for exclusive monthly offers and updates.
ESB Networks has now installed over 2 million smart meters in homes, farms and businesses across Ireland. With a smart meter, you're in control. Track your daily, weekly and monthly usage so you can choose the right electricity plan for your home. Sign up to a free ESB Networks online account today and see how your smart meter can work for you. ESB Networks. Energising your everything.
And we're back. Whether it's back to school, back to college, or getting back into the groove, discover Centra Simple Savers with great offers. Like Yoplait Petit Flou Big Pots 4-pack, $1.50 each. Selected Nature Valley Protein Bars 4-pack, $2.50 each. And selected Kellogg cereals, €3 each. Centra. Live every day.
Discover amazing deals at Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagorry, Strabane. Enjoy a 2-course menu for £19.95 Monday to Friday, Euro for pound night Wednesday and steak night Thursday. Sunday carvery from 12:30 to 3:30. Party packages and function rooms available. Call 02871 382905 to book.
Don't delay when you get your bowel screening invitation. Call us today on 1800 45 45 55 or visit bowelscreen.ie. From the HSE.
Right, 9:38. Welcome back to the show. We're joined on it now by Raymond. Good morning to you, Raymond. Are you there, Raymond? No. Okay, we'll reconnect with Raymond. It'll give me a chance to catch up on some of your comments coming up on the programme today. Greg, as a councillor, Mayor Trice and friend and great supporter of ACART Road Safety Campaign always, Victor was one of the very best. Many's the cup of tea and sandwich he bought me. Victor will certainly be dearly missed. That comes in from Mary C. Thank you, Mary. Another, if the political establishment blocks Maria Steen from running in the upcoming presidential race, people should not vote or spoil their ballot paper. If candidates don't represent your views, do not vote. I'm a moderate nationalist. Yeah, and to be honest with you, I've spoken to a lot of people who want Maria Steen to be on the ballot paper, that they believe she brings a different angle and, you know, a different perspective to different topics as well. So there does seem to be a lot of people, even those that wouldn't vote for her and perhaps would vote for one of the party candidates or Ms. Connolly, that they sort of want her on the ballot paper for the process, which is quite interesting. Right. A listener commented that she thinks Daniel O'Donnell would make a great president and wonder if he'd be interested in running. The idea came from discussions with her teenage son, who thought Daniel would be a great candidate. I think he would, but I don't think he needs it. To be honest with you, I just don't think he does. Right, some of the comments from Friday that I didn't get to. Greg, your guest is right. Lots of people do not trust politicians anymore. Years ago, people blindly believed everything that was said. Now we can analyse what they are doing, and thankfully we've got access to what is going on in the EU. So when we hear that they want to restrict access to the internet platforms to counter misinformation and disinformation, etc., when some government members have been found to be guilty of it themselves. All right, we'll see. Raymond, I think, can join us now. Good morning, Raymond.
Good morning, Greg. How you doing, sir?
Good. Now, Conor McGregor overnight withdrew from the presidential election campaign. He announced he'll no longer be seeking a nomination to appear on next month's ballot paper. The former MMA fighter claims the country is constrained by the straitjacket of an outdated constitution preventing him from running. You're disappointed he's not going to be on the ballot paper. Pray tell, why?
Yeah, Greg, first of all, I'm not a mixed martial arts fan, and I'm not a fan of Conor McGregor. Okay, just want that clear. But I feel strongly he should have the ability to run freely. Just like if I want to run freely, I should have. Or if you or any of the listeners at Highland Radio, it shouldn't be one of the heads of, basically the three political parties saying, I can't run, or you, Greg, can't run, or somebody else, because we stitched everything up, and that's what's going on here, sadly. And it's just it's almost like a curse here, where the results are determined beforehand. If you're not a member of one of the boys and girls clubs, tough, hard luck to you. Mm-hmm. So I just feel strongly, I have a right to run, and I have a right for everybody in the country to say, no, you don't deserve to be president.
Okay, so at what point is there any qualifying bar that you believe you should have to meet, right? So theoretically, there could be 200 candidates that want to get onto the ballot paper. Are you saying there should be no bar that you would have to meet to get onto the ballot paper? Because it would be a free-for-all then.
Well,
that would be unprecedented around the world.
Well, it's better a free-for-all than the way things are doing right now, where, there'll be 2 or 3 people and everybody else is basically locked out in here. Let the 200 people run and 199, the people say, no, you're not good enough. But there's no real choice here. There's really no democracy. It's like a thin veil here that you're going to do what, these are the people we want to run, and you pick one of the people, and that's it. It's just difficult. It's like, why even have an election? I mean, like if you look at, there's no election for Taoiseach, which I totally disapprove of. And then who's the guy above him, the Taoiseach? He's not elected. None of these people are elected.
Yeah, but we're engaged in I know where you're coming from, but listen, we're engaged in a process whereby people vote and they elect individuals, be they members of party or not, and there are, pre-election commitments. I mean, people knew fine rightly when they were voting that who was going to be the Taoiseach and who was going to be the Taoiseach. I mean, to sort of say it's anti-democratic's it's a bit unfair, Raymond, because the people voted. So we have proportional representation. And, that's why we have a certain Taoiseach and a certain Taoiseach. There's no surprises there. You might not have voted for him, but enough people did vote for those parties.
No, Greg, I fully understand what you're saying, and maybe I'm biased because I spent most of my life in the United States. The president of the United States might be a Republican or a Democrat, but the people have to decide, okay, he's the man or woman that's going to be in charge here.
Yeah, but he appoints his cabinet. He appoints his cabinet, like JFK Jr., for an example, who wasn't elected into the position of health. So it's the exact same.
No, well, but he was elected at the very top, and
but so
in
was
Ireland the people are not elected.
The Taoiseach and the Taoiseach are elected by people as TDs, and then appointed by their parties. It's the same system in America, slightly different though. Donald Trump appoints the people that make all the big decisions. There's no election. You don't vote JFK into health. I'm only focusing on him because he's the most recognizable name probably over here, but that's an appointment. That's not a democratic process. So to use the American system as an example is flawed at the first hurdle.
Well, Greg, like I appreciate what you're saying. I've been back here a dozen years. All right, I'm retired now. All right. There are a lot of very good people on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's also, from what I've gathered, there's sort of a systemic, institutionalized corruption at the most senior levels, and it seems to filter all the way down here. And it's like you're dealing with mafia, but they're claiming they're little innocent angels or whatever. I'm being facetious here, but it's the corruption is like it's overwhelming here. It's all over the place here, and it's almost incomprehensible to me.
Just in
coming back
relation,
here.
I get you. I get you. But just in relation to Conor McGregor, is this the hill to die on for you to sort of highlight this issue? Let's not forget that he was found criminally responsible for raping a woman. He appealed it. Sorry, did I say criminal? He was found civilly responsible, just to clarify, for the rape of a woman. He appealed that and was unsuccessful. Back in 2019, he knocked out, and this is a professional sports person, he knocked an old guy out in a pub. He ended up buying that pub, and instead of sort of having any remorse, he actually banned the man from the pub. That's just the top two that I can think of at the moment. Do we not need checks and balances to keep someone like that out of office? I mean, you talk about your dissatisfaction and corruption within an office. Surely we need checks and balances to keep someone like that out of such a prestigious position, no?
Look, Greg, at the front, I'm no fan of McGregor's full stop, okay? I don't approve of what he's been involved in, what they've alleged he's been involved in stuff. I'm simply not into that. I'm not a fan of Conor McGregor, and sort of end the story here. But it's like, let the people directly make a decision. In all likelihood, they wouldn't want Conor McGregor to be there. But he's bringing up a point, I think, in the background, like everything's corrupt here, and I'm not the best altar boy on the ground here, but I'm not as bad as maybe they are. But that's not for me to judge. It's just, I think there should be direct stuff, a direct election, and like I mentioned corruption. There's no accountability in Ireland. Like you've been on many times about the genocide going on in Gaza, and it's like people at the top, they want to talk out of both sides of their mouth, and like Ireland, more than probably a lot of other countries should know something about what the victim of being in the genocide means.
I think
here.
We spoke before, Raymond. You're a Trump supporter, aren't you? Can I say that? Are you?
I strongly supported Donald Trump in here.
Where is your loyalty to him now, given the fact that ultimately he is the person that could have stopped the genocide in Palestine, or in fact he could actually try and do it now if he really wanted to? Has that made you wobble in your support of him at all, seeing as you actually brought that into the conversation?
I'm not a fan of Trump right now. What he's doing, the United States is genocidally responsible for what Netanyahu's doing to the poor Palestinians. It's damnable. It's just absolutely damnable in my humble estimation. They're financing, all the weapons. They're flying planes over Ireland. Nobody's stopping. It's there's been 64,000 people.
Do you believe that Donald Trump was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein and is trying to cover up his associations with Jeffrey Epstein and perhaps some of the nefarious activities he could have been involved in with him? Do you believe that Donald Trump's up to his ears in that?
Greg, what I understand, and this could be totally wrong, all right? And this is something that won't be mentioned anywhere. I don't think Trump and Epstein were the best of mates from full 20 years, from what I understand. The best of mates.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he was doing what Epstein was doing? No. But however,
what do you think of that birthday card he sent him, though? That's a bit dodgy, isn't it?
Well, it's damnable. But this is getting to the point. Epstein was apparently working hand in hand with the Israeli Mossad. In back of that, the American CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, had to know what the hell was going on, which means the United States government was indirectly involved in sex trafficking, and that's what's.
But my point is that there's a lot in there that's questionable about Donald Trump, right? This is not to even mention some of the other scandals, and he was able to get into power on the American system, and then we have a Conor McGregor character here who has been found civilly responsible for rape. He's been found guilty of punching an older man. There's lots of other questions surrounding him, but you believe that our system actually should permit that. It just feels like there's some contradictions and conflicts. Like, I would love to know what you believe, or if you see another country that actually does have a fairer system, that doesn't have some people that will find their way into power that can exploit that power. Like people say, oh, well, the system's banned, Jackson, it's corrupt and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying it's not, but show me a democracy that's gotten it right, even employing the voting patterns that the likes of yourself might want to see. Maybe I'm actually beyond cynical. You might be cynical about particular administrations or particular people. I think my cynicism extends to anyone that gets into power, because power corrupts absolutely, from what I've seen, and I can't see many examples anywhere in the world. To some extent, you look at dictatorships and they feel less corrupt, because at least you know what's blooming going on.
No, exactly. Look, I'm just one person here. I believe Ireland should be taking a leadership position, and it shouldn't be trying to sort of hide behind, if you will, and I'm not trying to be, I don't know what's uncouth in here, everybody else is sort of dirty panties. And it's, they shouldn't be going back 100 years. They should be looking to the future in here. Like I said, I'm no fan of Conor McGregor, but like, let people say no in here. What happened in the United States was with Joe Biden, and if you go back in history, this whole thing with Joe Biden or about Ukraine started with Biden in 1998, because he had nothing else to do with his time as a senior U.S. senator, in my view. And he was stirring the pot in here. I mean, when the United States makes a commitment, they then break the commitment, and that's what happened with Biden in here.
Okay.
I'm not. The system needs, you need to take a leadership position. There needs to be a little bit of courage exercised somewhere in here. You go ahead and make mistakes, but at least show some courage and some leadership, and not sort of hide back, be in the background. Greg, what can you do for my pocketbook?
Yeah,
you can't do anything for me. Get out of the way.
Okay. Listen, it's been interesting hearing your points of view. I do appreciate it, Raymond. Thank you very much indeed. Do you agree or disagree? 08660 25,000. I suppose this comes down to the thrust of it is, do you have an issue with the current system to get on the ballot paper as president? Can you suggest an alternative? Would a free-for-all be worth it? Because obviously, I mean, as I said on Friday, I think we had a really long ballot paper for the EU elections, and that was just, in one constituency. It made it very hard to track. But anyway, what do you think? 08660 25,000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
We all have questions on how to keep our kids safe online.
How do I get her to spend less time on her phone?
Where do I even start with all the apps she's on?
How do I talk to my students about bullying and social media?
There are things we can do to support children online. Visit webwise.ie for free advice for parents, teachers and young people.
From helpful guides to talking points on image sharing, gaming and more, visit webwise.ie, helping schools and families keep children safe online. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Do you sometimes struggle to hear? It could just be earwax and it's easily treated. Hidden Hearing right now are offering free earwax removal for everyone over 60, carried out by our qualified earwax technicians. Call 1-800-370-000 or go to hiddenhearing.ie. Hidden Hearing, your hearing is our expertise. T's and C's apply.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
We know we've a lot to get through. Searching for low prices shouldn't be one of them. That's why Screwfix check prices daily on over 1,000 essentials and basics. Screwfix, low price, checked.
If you're ready for a fresh start, Mulrines is recruiting. Mulrines is expanding its team across our Sion Mills and Ballybuffet sites with great opportunities in production, dispatch and engineering. Come along and meet the team at our exclusive recruitment open event on Monday the 15th of September from 2 to 7 at the Fir Trees Hotel Strabane. Details at mulrines.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
All right, so I think there's a yellow rain warning or something in effect for our area at the moment, but windy today with widespread showers or longer spells of rain. The rain will be heavy at times with spot flooding possible and the chance of thunder. Temperatures 13 to 16 degrees in fresh to strong and gusty westerly winds reaching gale force at times along coast. And I think that's going to be a trend this week. Low pressure dominating weather coming from the southwest. A lot of piddly rain, wind blowing and temperatures in the mid-teens. So there you go. Correct, the government cannot be allowed to choose the candidates. This is not democracy. That's in response to our conversation about the presidential election. No standards necessary for the leader of the country. I think we've all seen how that's gone for the Americans, says a listener. Another, we work with a multi-party system. America works with a two-party system. Our system is totally different. But fundamentally, you end up with people in positions that they're not qualified for or that people didn't necessarily vote for. Half of America didn't vote for Donald Trump. Half of America or more certainly didn't vote for JFK Jr., just using that as an example to be in his position. So it's the exact same as here, really. I just don't know any examples of it being different anywhere else in the world. All right, you are tuned to the 9 till noon show for this Monday. I do hope you're having a good week so far. For some of you, I suppose this is your day off. You probably worked all weekend, but whoever you are and whatever your circumstances, we're delighted to have you tuned to the show. And we've got a lot coming up, and that starts after we take a break now for the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
My home is my castle. My sing in the shower place or work in my undies place. My pizza for breakfast, cornflakes for dinner place. My home is my me place.
With AXA Home Insurance, you can protect the place where you can truly be yourself and get 24-hour emergency home assistance as standard. Get a quote online or call into your local branch. AXA. Know you can. Policy terms and conditions apply. AXA Insurance Stock is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hello, Jedward speaking. Sorry, Edward speaking. Hey bro, I'm glad you picked up. Who is this? It's me, John. I'm literally outside in the landing. I don't know any Sean. Lose my number. Hello? Edward, don't hang up. I'm sorry for saying a handyman could fix the gas boiler. Please forgive.
Always use a registered gas installer, or you could risk everything. Find one at rgi.ie.
Join me, Marty Free. Listen every Friday night from 8 for Rocket Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. Try their new interactive dartboards with lots of games that all the family can play. See arena7.ie.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 32575.
When the time comes, the last thing you want is for your family to worry about funeral costs. That's why On Post Insurance offers funeral insurance for those aged 50 to 75. A simple way to help ease the burden for the people you care about most. Take a moment today to plan ahead. Call 0818 22 22 22 or visit onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as On Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post. Funeral insurance is underwritten and provided by New Ireland Assurance Company plc. On Post Insurance is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc for life assurance business.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Conor McGregor claims he had the support to become president but was blocked by an outdated constitution. The former MMA fighter has pulled out of the campaign on the day he was due to address councils in Kildare and Dublin City. He's told his followers on X he'll be canvassing again in the future. Harry McGee, political correspondent with the Irish Times, says that McGregor wasn't going to make it onto the ballot paper.
Essentially saying that the system was protecting the establishment and was weighted against outsiders like him. He posted, I think, at about 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning our time. He's in New York at the moment, so wouldn't have been present in any instance to talk to all the local authorities who are holding special meetings. He was due to speak to Dublin City Council. The reality for him is that he wouldn't have got a nomination.
9 local councils are hearing from independent candidates in the presidential election campaign today on what's been dubbed Super Monday. As of yet, there are no plans to hold a meeting of Donegal County Council to discuss potential nominations. Last week, council officials confirmed that 21 people had made contact seeking nominations, and officials are awaiting direction from the members. A court has heard that a man accused of leading a pub crawl of intimidation to issue warnings about drugs in Dungiven is suspected of involvement in an attack in Lifford earlier this year. Charles Duher, who is in his 20s, was left with life-threatening injuries after he was attacked at his home on Conningborough Road on January 20th. With more, here's Michaela Clark.
The case of 31-year-old Michael Conwell from Castleton Square, Fintona, was before Belfast Crown Court on Friday. He was seeking bail to attend Ballinasloe Horse Fair in Galway. According to the Belfast Telegraph, a prosecuting counsel objected to bail being varied. They told the court that he was at risk of breaching bail and committing further offences. It was confirmed that he is under investigation for serious assault in Lifford last January. Despite objections from the PPS and PSNI, the judge granted the application to vary the bail from the 9th to the 12th of October.
Diversions remain in place at the scene of a crash in Inishowen this morning. The collision happened on the Clar Road, Redcastle. No serious injuries have been reported. Former Letterkenny councillor Victor Fisher has been remembered as a man who was hugely passionate about everything he did. He was first elected as a Fianna Fáil member of Letterkenny Urban District Council in 1985 and successfully contested 4 more elections, including the final town council election in 2009 before it was abolished 5 years later. The late councillor was laid to rest following funeral mass in St Eunan's Cathedral in Letterkenny yesterday. Councillor Kieran Brogan says Victor Fisher witnessed some of the biggest changes Letterkenny will ever experience.
If one looks at Letterkenny now, Victor in his lifetime probably seen the biggest change that many of us will see in our lifetime around Letterkenny, the growth of the university status of the ATU, the growth of the hospitals, but the employment centres and the retail offering as well around the town. And he was always very, very passionate about everything was good about Letterkenny and the council and its people.
The government is expected to tighten rules around learner permits. Under the proposals, learners who haven't passed their test after 7 years will have to take additional lessons to get back on the road. It's aimed at closing a loophole which allows people stay on a learner's permit. Motoring editor with the Irish Independent, Ger Herbert, says it's a big problem.
It's estimated there's about 11,000 people who've been on a learner permit for 20 years or more, and there's about 27,000 who've been on it between 11 and 20 years. So they're not huge numbers, but they're significant all the same.
Airplane emissions are not a reason to keep the passenger cap at Dublin Airport, according to the former chair of Shannon Group. It comes as the Transport Minister, Darragh O'Brien, plans to lift the 32 million passenger limit by the end of the next year. It could see a number of passengers allowed to pass through the airport nearly doubling to 60 million. Padraig O'Cagia, the founder of Aer Lingus Regional, says cars are a much bigger concern when it comes to emissions.
CO2 gas emissions, grams per passenger per kilometre, for Ryanair is 63. And in a car, it's 140. So it's 2.5 times as much in a car. Our problem is not the airplanes. Our problem is overall traffic and transportation. Dublin is one of the most congested cities in the world. People are losing 81 hours a year stuck in traffic.
Windy today with widespread showers or longer spells of rain, heavy at times with spot flooding possible and a chance of some thunder. There have been some reports of flooding around Donegal this morning, and indeed a yellow rain warning remains in place in Donegal, Sligo and Leitrim until 5 o'clock this evening. Highest temperatures today 13 to 16 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Check all the day's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notice says for this Monday morning, September the 15th. The death has taken place of Maurice Friel, Mean Derry Gamph Gidor. His remains will repose at Rorty's funeral home Derry Beg today from 3 o'clock until Rosary at 8 o'clock. Removal afterwards to his late residence. Strictly private to family only. Funeral Mass will take place tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in the Church of the Sacred Heart Dunlewy, with burial afterwards in Maharagan Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page and on the church webcam. The death has taken place of John Harkin, 526 Bonamain Bridge End. His remains are reposing at his home, where you're all welcome to pay your respects. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:15 to St Angus's Church, Burt, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in Burt Cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock until 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Cancer Care Unit Letterkenny, care of any family member or Sean Murphy, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Mary Josephine Lally, Ballybow, Rathmullen. House private, please. Funeral will take place in St Joseph's Church, Rathmullen, this morning at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjacent cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via mcn.live. Family flowers only. And the death has taken place of Vincent McAleer, 48 Lisnar Road, Donamana, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home this morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Killeen at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, before the funeral this morning. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the parish YouTube channel. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Deirdre, when you're picking your kids up at school, will you get mine too? I've run out of petrol and my insurance doesn't have breakdown assistance, so I'm stranded here. Don't tell the kids that though. They'll never stop slagging me.
Real life, written by you, underwritten by Allianz. Get covered with breakdown assistance and 15% off car insurance policies at allianz.ie. Allianz PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Standard acceptance criteria, minimum premiums and terms and conditions apply. Breakdown assistance is an optional extra. An additional premium applies.
Welcome back to the programme. A caller says every obstacle possible will be put in Marie Steen's way and other candidates who challenge the political and media establishment from standing for president. The system of electing a president in this country is flawed and it only serves to delude voters that they are participating in democracy. Now, I've seen Marie Steen getting an awful lot of, maybe not necessarily in the mainstream media, in inverted commas, but certainly on social media. It'd be very interesting to get her on the show, so we might reach out and see if she's interested in having a chat. I'd like to get to know her views a little better and, tease out what her pathway is. I mean, she's got 10 TDs, hasn't she, already? So that's a halfway there. So it's possible. I don't know. Greg, it's simple. If you have any prosecution against you, you should not be allowed to run. Now, I think I agree with you to some extent. I think prosecutions in that context should lapse. You know, I think if you've had recent prosecutions, it should be a problem. I think everyone's entitled to sort of rehabilitate if they can. Obviously, this very much depends on the crime. But I think, you know, if your prosecution has lapsed or a certain amount of time has passed, would that not be better? A caller said, should someone with no political background be allowed to stand for president? Fianna Fáil selected Jim Gavin, who wasn't even a member of Fianna Fáil at the time. The first rule should be to have some type of public office service. Another caller says, that's a script actually that was given to me earlier. Now, we also had Catherine Connolly on the show. Some of your comments following off the back of that, and more generally about the presidency. The wage for the president is $350k a year, plus travel, plus staff, plus we do not need a president. Okay. Another caller says that's exactly the problem. The majority of people did indeed vote this government in, but they're now breaking their promises and ignoring the people's wishes. They claim to have a mandate, but only to do as they promised. If they wish to behave like dictators, then they can expect to be treated with contempt. Another caller says, I'll be voting for Catherine in the election, but she will be sorely missed in the Dáil if she wins. Greg, can you ask Catherine if she genuinely thinks she can achieve more in the Irish than the Dáil Chamber? I think from her listening to her comments, I don't think she is looking to achieve the type of things you can as a TD as president. Catherine Connolly claims to be socialist, but like many of her comrades nearing the end of their political career, is prepared to accept and enjoy the dazzling baubles of the ruling elite, and as a result making a mockery of their political principles. Catherine won't answer a simple question directly. This is in relation to me asking if she'd be inclined to say, for instance, the question I put to her if you weren't listening, just to get an example, because it comes up all the time and I wanted to get a sense of what candidates actually are going to do in the presidency. So I know she's dead against the removal of the triple lock. So if the government were to proceed with that, it eventually, and the constitution was or the legislation was changed, you know, even though the public didn't have any say in that, and she says she wants to be a president of the people. I was just curious if the document came before her to sign that into law, you know, something she's very opposed to as a TD, would she, and if she believes that it were to go against the Constitution, would she refer it to the Supreme Court for further analysis? And her answer when we got to it was along the lines of she would have people look at it, but actually sending something to the Supreme Court means that that's it then, fait accompli, and it doesn't mean it's open to challenge elsewhere. So I don't know exactly what the exact response was, but it was in that space. So the caller says, Catherine won't answer the question directly. I'm waiting to see what ways the wind blows stronger. She won't be getting my vote. She's not up to speed on our constitution. Another real chat about the presidency in these days of people struggling. Has nobody ever thought of the costs involved in having a president? 3 to 4 million annually, and if that's value for money, plus the costs of running to be elected. Why does the president, or what does the president actually do apart from turn up at Croke Park and other sporting events? A complete waste of time and money, this listener thinks. I would like to wish Catherine Connolly the best of luck in the upcoming presidential election, says another. In my humble opinion, she's the only person I would have any faith in. She's a great speaker and doesn't shy away from the truth. Good luck to her. That's what this caller believes. Greg, I'd be worried how Catherine Connolly avoided the question about the triple lock, and maybe that's why Sinn Féin did not row in behind her. Another, I listened to the interview with Catherine Connolly. I've changed my mind on her being a new voice for Ireland. She's made it crystal clear that she will play safe and not rock the boat. And that's just some of them that were coming in there. Thank you, by the way. We really, really do appreciate all of your comments. Now, we had a great guest up here on Friday after the outside broadcast at the ATU, which was lovely. I really enjoyed that. It was great to meet so many people from around the world, so enthusiastic about our beautiful part of the world. But when I come back up, Bernard Harkin was up here. He came up for a chat. Great to meet him. Looked very smart. He had a tweed blazer on. He was looking very smart indeed. And he was up visiting us on Friday. And Bernard lives on his own, but attends Castlin Core, isn't it? It's not Or, it's Core. It's Castlin Core. Yeah, someone spelt this wrong. So, or maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. So, Bernard, it was great to have you up on Friday. And a big hello to all at Castlin Core. And I believe There's a very special lady called Mary who works in the kitchen, or indeed did. And I believe after 22 years of service, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, after 22 years of service, she retired on Friday. And apparently she's excellent at what she does and will be a big miss. So 2 things, Mary, enjoy your retirement, or I'm not sure if you're retiring or just leaving, but whatever happens for you next, whether it's retirement or your next adventure, well done to you, Mary, for so many loyal years at Kathleen Core. A big hello to all the staff there. A big hello to all the people that visit Kathleen Core, and of course a very big hello to Bernard. It was great to have you up, Bernard. Great to see you, and I will fulfil my promise to you and hopefully maybe do a show from there sometime into the future. Michael Lynch is in St. Joseph's Hospital in Stranraer. Hi, Michael, and a big happy birthday to you. Have a wonderful day, Michael, and I'm sure you'll be very well looked after. Lots of love coming in to you from Mum and Dad in St. Johnston.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, September 15th. Playing on a green sheet. Reference number is S6. It's week 38. Today's numbers are 64, 66, 45, 29, 90, 20, 39, 50, 14, and 68. Phone your claim to 910-4833 before midnight tonight, leaving your name, contact number, and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
McGowan Hearing, your audiologist experts now in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonna. Book your free hearing aid consultation in our clinic or your home across the northwest and beyond with Dara McGowan on 07191 00208.
The County Donegal Blackface Sheep Breeders Association annual female sale of cast ewes, hoggets and ewe lambs will take place in Ballybuffet and Stranraer Mart on Friday the 19th of September at 6 p.m. 3 lambs will be sold on the day in aid of the Donegal Hospice. That's this Friday the 19th at Ballybuffet and Stranraer Mart.
New this week in Home Store and More. All ottomans are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price ottomans are gone, they're gone. Also, all bar stools are still all half price, and all mattress toppers are still all 33% off. But when all the half price bar stools and all the 33% off mattress toppers are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
We wish you a... It may be too early for Christmas carols, but it's never too early to start the Christmas shopping. Save hundreds, possibly thousands of euro shopping online with Space Hub Derry. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your Christmas parcels and post. Save on delivery and on customs tariffs this Christmas with Space Hub Derry. Open Monday to Saturday, collect at your convenience. Find us on Facebook and Google Space Hub Derry.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
It is 10:17, and as I mentioned a little earlier on, it's just been one of those days where there's been a slew of stories relating to the road safety, the rules of the road and their implementation and stuff. So delighted to be able to welcome on to the programme Sean Canny, Minister with responsibility for road safety. Sean, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Good morning, and thanks yourself, and wishing all your listeners the best.
Yeah, great to have you with us. Now, we'll talk about the L drivers in a second, but there's a stat that's republished every now and again, and I still find it flabbergasting, and that's fewer than 6% of drivers hand in licences after disqualification. Now, they're told in the court that they must, yet the overwhelming majority seem to know that if they don't, there's very few, if any, consequences at all. What do you think is actually going on there that 94% of people, even once they've been told to hand in their licence following a disqualification, they don't? How can you explain that? Not you. How can we explain it, you know?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it's a disrespect for the courts. The courts made a decision. and the license should be handed in. I think what we're doing in terms of relating a person's driver's license to their insurance, etc., on the car, that I'd say it will become more difficult with the new rules and regulations for people just to ignore the courts. It is important that they do hand them in, and I will be talking to my colleague Jim O'Callaghan as well to see how we can work together to actually make it an imperative that people do send back in their or hand up their licenses when they're disqualified.
Do you think it's the legal profession that are advising people? Because, as I say, how could the information be so... and I don't presume that every one of them that doesn't is actually driving, right? They must want to retain it for other reasons. But someone's giving people the advice at that point to say, you actually don't really need to hand up your license.
And I would actually say that whilst I don't know who's advising them or whether they're just doing it off their own, making their own decisions. But I think the message loud and clear from me, and I'm sure it'll be from Jim O'Callaghan, that people have got to respect the courts and should hand them their licence, that is what the courts have decreed. So I'll be looking, as I said, I'll be chatting to Jim O'Callaghan. I'll probably see him at the Cabinet meeting on Wednesday, and we'll have a chat about it and see what's the best way we can, with our officials, work to try and make it more less attractive or less easy for people just not to come in with their licenses. I think it's something that maybe we have to have a system in place where it's actually logged that they do come in or don't come in, and that's probably part of it. That there's probably the records may not be tight enough in terms of making sure that they come in or writing out to them or contacting them.
Another story too, and this could have serious ramifications for drink driving commitments or convictions. The Director of Public Prosecutions is set to appeal a significant High Court decision with potential adverse implications for thousands of drink driving prosecutions. Effectively, the chain of custody of blood samples was challenged somewhat successfully, though there is a window of opportunity here. There'll be a lot of people, a lot of those in the legal professional looking on, saying, is this an issue that we can exploit? How concerned are you about that, and what can be done from a legislative perspective to try and make sure that we don't have thousands of people convicted of drink driving back out on the roads?
Well, I think first of all, there are probably four main causes of accidents on our roads, and one of them is drink and drug driving. So it is a cause for collisions. It does cause deaths, maybe to the person themselves or a member of their own family, or maybe an innocent pedestrian or somebody in some other car. So that's how serious this is. This is not just a test you do. It's actually important that the test has the integrity it needs. And look, it's something that is being looked at. If there is additional legislation required, it will be put in place. My role is to encourage the Department of Justice, or if it's my own department, to make sure that we close any of these gaps as quickly as possible. You cannot for 1 minute condone that people who have been convicted of drink driving or drug driving will be back out on the roads because of a technical error. I think it's important that we clean this up as soon as possible, and I will work with the Department of Justice on that and with my own officials.
You're going to have a busy conversation with Jim O'Callaghan come Thursday by the looks of things. Learner drivers... Go ahead.
It is interesting, but it's also a fact that Justice and Department of Transport, when it comes to road safety, have a lot of things to work together on.
Of course, yeah.
And we have a road strategy committee, and Jim O'Callaghan, the Minister, sits on that committee with me as well. So, and I chair it. So basically, we do work together, and we do tic-tac on lots of things that are going on within both our departments, which have a common purpose, absolutely.
I mean, I from what I can see, the road traffic legislation is a bit of a basket case. It's a bit of a mess, and we're going to be firefighting these issues all of the while. Would you have concerns that you don't know what the reality you could do about it, but it seems a mess, and it seems to be one exploit after the other. And who could blame? A solicitor's got their client's best interests at heart, and laws are proven when they're tested, right? But I mean, would you have concerns that it's like a sieve, the road traffic legislation?
It's not. It's not like a sieve. There may be some technicalities within it that need to be honed in on and strengthen them up. But by and large, people who are put off the road, wait off the road, and I think that it is important to say that this is all about safety on the road, nothing else. So I think it's important that people understand that there are plenty of laws out there which can be enacted when people drink and drive, and if they're caught, they will be get the appropriate punishment and be penalised appropriately.
There is seemingly, at least in some parts, a culture of driving on your learner permit. There's a lot of reasons for that, not excuses for it, because it's illegal. But although there has been some good improvements, delays in getting your driving test and rural transport and stuff, as I say, that's not an excuse to break the law. But some would argue they're contributing factors. But there are people that sort of, whether they're driving or not, perpetually have a learner driver certificate, and what they've been able to do is, as it is to expired and when it's required, book a test. They don't even have to turn up for it, and then they can reapply for a learner permit. And there's no doubt learner drivers are overrepresented in, unfortunately, the serious and fatal road traffic collision data. So you are looking to tighten this up significantly, aren't you? Tell us what's on the table.
Well, yeah, just you've described there what's going on, but at the moment there are 65,000 people with a learner permit. They're on their third or subsequent learner permit. We have 14,500 people who are on their 10th learner permit or more. So there is an issue there. At the moment, the rules are, if your permit is running out, you apply for a test, you get the test, you get the appointment, and then you are entitled to reapply for your permit. You don't have to sit the test, and at the moment, over 12,000 appointments were not fulfilled in the driving test centres across this country last year, and that's a difficulty where you have tests booked and testers are there to do the test, and people don't show up. That has to be sorted out. So my intention is that we will be looking at regulation to actually make sure that after 3 learner permits, you then will have to sit a test before you be given your 4th one or your full license if you pass the test.
If you fail that test, then you can still apply for another learner permit.
You can. Of course.
Does that really fix the problem though? Because all that.
Follow on.
I'll just ask this question, then you can follow on. All that does is take up 35 minutes of someone's time, and they can hit the curb, at the front door of the test centre if they wanted to. Does that really, do you think, prevent what we're talking about here?
Well, what it will do in time is that if you fail your first test, you then can reapply for your permit again. But after 3 more permits, you have to do your test, and if you fail that test, you'll then have to go back and do your lessons and start off with your theory test again. So that means that after a space of I think it's probably 7 years, you would be the maximum of which you would actually be able to drive without actually going back and doing the test. The reality of it is that people don't have to do it; they don't do it. And I think it's important that now that we have the testing times back to a reasonable level nationally, that we tidy up all of these other anomalies that are there. And when you think about it, that you have 65,000 people on learner permits on their 3rd or more, there is something wrong, if they haven't set a test to see if they're competent to be on the road.
But the fact that I can hold a learner permit for up to 7 years without ever sitting a test or taking any additional lessons, it's not exactly, coming down with a sledgehammer on this. You're effectively saying that changes will allow someone effectively to have a learner permit in their possession without a test or without further lessons for 7 years. That's a long time. A 23-year-old would be 30.
Well, no, it wouldn't be. No, they would have to set their test after when they're going for their 4th learner permit. And a lot of people here at the moment who are on learner permits, as I said, the 65,000 of them who were on 3 or more. So the next time, if this regulation is brought in, the next time they go to apply for a test, they'll have to sit the test.
Mm-hmm. Could you have gone a bit tougher on this? Because you talk of an additional 12 you're talking about additional driving lessons as well. You know, I think for a lot of people, the 12 lessons are box ticking. And they think once they're in the bag, that's it, and they'll either not bother going for the test or keep failing their test, right? There's obviously something seriously amiss there. Do you not think there should be more encouragement for more lessons a bit earlier in the process?
And also, I think that when people do their test, they are given a report on where they were weak in that test. And I think that drivers will be encouraged to actually concentrate on the places or on the manoeuvres or whatever that they're weak in, so that they become more competent to drive on the road and become safer on the road. Because at the moment, if you fail a test, it means you're not supposed to be driving the car without having a qualified driver with you.
No, of course.
I don't know if that's happening in all the cases, and that is a problem. So we have, there's a tidy up to be done on all of this, and it's also making the driver testing centres, the testers themselves sitting there waiting for somebody to come in, doesn't show up, and you have 12,000 events like that in a year. It's making the whole thing inefficient as well. So it's going to take a bit of time to resolve these issues, but I think that the message is loud and clear. People will have to test, do their driving tests in order to remain driving. Otherwise, if they repeated failure after two rounds, they will have to go back to basics. All right.
I think you had an opportunity here. I think the truth be told, there's no one with a learner driver for 5, 6, 7 years who's only driving with someone sitting beside them. Do you know what I mean? I don't know a single person that would commit to doing that for me or with me. Do you know that sort of a way?
Absolutely, and I would say, the people who are driving without a qualified person with them, are they insured? Legally, they shouldn't be on the road, but are they insured? And that is another issue. So we have to delve into this and make sure that when the regulation is brought in and the detail will be brought forward, that it's effective. It actually encourages people to take the test and also to be prepared for the test. It's not just something you do, fail it, and then you keep going. That there will be further consequences if you fail it a second time.
And maybe there's a cultural change effect that comes through with something like this, that we just realise that, no, this is how you do it. And those who have been consistently ignoring it, they move on, or they actually conform to the law. But new generations perhaps see a different system. Okay, we'll see. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate your time. That's Minister Sean Canny there. He's got responsibility for road safety. Do you think that goes too far? Do you think it goes far enough? Is it a missed opportunity? Have they struck the right note? Let me know. 08660 20 5000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
If you're aged 59 to 70, we will invite you for a free HSE bowel screening home test. Screening can help find signs of bowel cancer early, before any symptoms show, making it easier to treat.
You've got experience. Now it's time to build on it. With Skills to Advance, get the tools to grow with flexible, tailor-made courses in areas like AI, digital skills, sustainability, technology, leadership and management. They're short, practical and low cost. So whether you're looking to step up, switch paths or stay sharp, this is your next move. Contact your local education and training board or visit skillstoadvance.ie. Skills to Advance. Boost skills, boost business. Supported by Solus and the Government of Ireland.
Foy's biggest ever end of summer sale is now on, so don't miss out. Whether it's a statement sofa or a full dining room set, our expert team will help you choose the perfect pieces. Order now during the sale at Foy's in Ballybuffet or Letterkenny to guarantee Christmas delivery.
I'm Fionnuala Fibre O'Farrell Flynn, racing across the country to keep up with NBI's fibre rollout. Over 50 broadband providers are using NBI's network to bring high-speed fibre broadband to homes across Ireland. So from Ballylifford to Ballybuffet, homeowners can pick whatever package suits their needs and still get all the benefits of rural Ireland's dedicated fibre broadband network. Connect at nbi.ie.
MBI is delivering the government's national broadband plan.
Another connection. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have worn heels.
If you're ready for a fresh start, Mulrines is recruiting. Mulrines is expanding its team across our Sion Mills and Ballybuffet sites with great opportunities in production, dispatch and engineering. Come along and meet the team at our exclusive recruitment open event on Monday the 15th of September from 2 to 7 at the Fir Trees Hotel Strabane. Details at mulrines.ie.
Hi, Gavin here from Divers Hyundai in Letterkenny to tell you about 2 Grand Tuesday, our one-off used car sale event. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 16th, all used cars at Divers will have €2,000 off the listed prices online. Yes, 2 grand off every car for one day only. No gimmicks, no games, no joke. That's tomorrow, Tuesday, at Divers Hyundai Canal Road, Letterkenny. We'll be open 8 till 8 on the day. For details, see diversgarage.ie.
Don't delay when you get your bowel screening invitation. Call us today on 1800 45 45 55 or visit bowelscreen.ie. From the HSE.
Greg, in other countries on a disqualification, your licence is invalid. You have to apply for a new licence to get back driving when the period expires. No need for nonsense like this in Ireland. Thanks, Daniel. Right, okay. I'm not sure of the status of someone's licence on disqualification. Do you hand it up like for storage, like a kid might have a mobile phone at the start of the school day, or is it invalid? I don't know. If people had to resit their test after 12 points and lost their licence for a year, we'd have safer roads. Well, you're off the road, aren't you, after 12 points? But yep, interested suggestion add in resitting the test there. Another, let's face facts, many don't hand in their licence when they are disqualified, and there's no follow-up to ensure it happens. 94% of people don't. A caller said, I did my test 4 times before I passed. It's nerves. They got the better of me. So because I'm a nervous person, I'll have to pay more. Is that fair? Or, and I've great sympathy for you, or is sort of controlling your nerves, especially, say, for instance, then if you go to drive in Dublin or on a busy motorway, is that not in some way part of the test of your driving ability as well? If you find that nerve-wracking, might your nerves play a factor in a crisis situation when driving? I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that's the case. I've great sympathy for you and I understand exactly what you're talking about. Soon be no roads with water flooding. Soon there'll be no roads with water flooding, overgrown, which is a big safety issue. 3 weeks in, very little done between farmers, landlords, etc. The president's role is nothing more than a meet and greet role to heads of state. It's nothing more than being a hotel concierge. Surely there's more to that. Right. One of the big issues on the roads as well is scooters. And I think scooters have a place in modern society, okay? It gives people the ability to get from point A to point B. They're not always cycling. You know what I mean? They're not using their physical energy. The law is this. Scooters shouldn't be on footpaths. They shouldn't be going down the right way in footpaths. They shouldn't be going up the wrong way in footpaths. They should be on the road. Now, they should have lights. They should have no seat. You shouldn't be carrying anything. There's lots of rules and regulations in relation to them. You shouldn't be exceeding 25 kilometres per hour. Those are the laws. You don't need to wear a helmet. So that's not part of it. But there's a big problem with scooters on footpaths in different places. Katrina O'Donnell is owner of Katrina's hair salon in Letterkenny and is with us now. Katrina, you've been speaking about this. You've got your concerns. What's the lived experience? You're on the main street in Letterkenny. Am I right, Katrina?
Good morning, Greg. Yeah, indeed I am. Yeah, just at Lower Main Street there.
Yeah, I know the place. Yeah. So what's the lived reality then? Because especially with your clients stepping in, off, and especially out and onto the footpath of a main street.
Yeah, we do have quite a clear view of the Lower Main Street there with just the big windows and stuff. So going out, we're fairly aware of what's going up and down the street, but you could never be ready for a bike, even the bikes as well, Greg, to be honest. It's just not the scooters. So they are using the footpath for the scooters and the bikes. So that's a massive problem.
And is it the lack of noise? Is it the speed? Is it, the shared space?
No, it's the speed.
The speed.
That's the speed, yeah.
Okay. And Have you had any near misses, or are you just trying to get the message out there before there is a serious issue?
No, we actually had a situation at a year past July there, and one of our customers, and she wasn't an elderly lady, she was a young lady, and she stepped out, and it was actually a mountain bike. So it wasn't an electric scooter. I know a lot of people did think at the time. I was actually on Highland Radio.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah. So yeah, it was awful. It was traumatic for everybody, actually, for the lady herself, and for the young person too that was riding the bike. It was terrible. Just not a nice situation to be in, and even for our own staff and the customers. It was a busy morning. So, but it was just the noise of the impact on the ground, the bang that it made when it happened. It was just she had no chance.
Yeah.
No chance at all.
And I know she was injured, and it did affect some travel arrangements for her, but it could have been much more serious. These are, the impact of the weight of the vehicle, but the weight of the person against someone who's not braced for it. We know the potential consequences here, Katrina.
Yeah. And it's just, I know it was well highlighted at the time, and it's a talking, it's a conversation every day. And especially in with us, because we have the view and we see it like so many times every day. And it's just, so like at this stage, we're walking people to the door. If that doesn't happen, you're shouting at somebody going out the door, just make sure, look up, look down. And they do. And, they're so, our customers are so aware, but you're nervous of people going out.
So would
coming
you
in
see
is not a problem because
of course,
they have the view.
Yeah, but are you seeing sort of 2 or 3 bikes or scooters a day? Is it one a week? Like how? Often?
Not at all. At least, at least a couple every day. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And in both instances, whether it's a bike or it is a scooter, it's not. It's illegal, right? But there seems to be little or no enforcement of either the bike or scooter regulations. Very frustrating that, because where's the discouragement for someone?
Yeah, well, this is it. Like, and suppose we've been doing our own little bits of research of where you stand. Now, coming in, like signage even for it, so coming in at Ballymacool on the entrance from the Glentees Churchill side, there's a sign just near Charles Kelly's, coming onto Ballymacool Road there's a signage, no cyclists on the pathway. It's quite high up on a pole. I suppose I'm more aware of it now after what happened to us, but there's very little signage. That's the only one that I'm aware of. Now, there could be more around the town, but that because it's our way into town, I'm aware of that signage, but it's quite high up. I don't know if the cyclists would even notice it, but I do think there should be more signage, more awareness, and we're even finding when somebody is going past on their bike or on their scooter, you could say something to them, but you're almost afraid to say anything to you as well, because you can get spoke back to too, and we don't know all the legality of it either. So, it's concerning.
All right, okay. Listen, thanks for helping us get the message out there. I do appreciate it. So cyclists, people on scooters, they must do everything that regular road users do to an extent. Stop at traffic lights when required. Stop at pedestrian crossings and zebra crossings. Stop at cycle traffic lights wherever you see those. Stop at stop signs and yield the right of way at yield signs. Of course, avoid cycling or scooting on motorways. You must use a cycle lane in a pedestrianised area where an appropriate one is provided. Otherwise, you don't really need to use them. Where the cycle lane is a contraflow cycle lane, allowing cyclists to go into the opposite direction to the traffic on the one-way street, you can only cycle in the contraflow direction. But other than that, you're out on the road. There are fixed charge penalties as well. You shouldn't be cycling on the footpath or scooting on the footpath. Here is the regulations. You're not allowed to cycle on a footpath unless there's a designated cycle lane on the footpath for you. or you're entering or exiting a property. Cycling on a footpath is not a specific fixed charge offence, though, which is the problem, I think. However, you could be fined for doing so if a Garda deemed their cycling to be without reasonable consideration. So you're not allowed to cycle on a footpath, but there is not actually, or scoot on it, a specific fixed charged offence for it, which is a problem, I think. Thanks, Katrina. Kevin, you've got experience of this as well. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. What was your and your wife's, I believe, and dog's interaction with a person on a scooter recently?
Oh, well, it's been the first time it happened, I actually was on the radio to you about it and had reported it to the guards. The thing is, it's happened another twice that she's been nearly knocked over on the footpath. And you don't hear them coming, and they're coming at a speed, and then they actually think of an entitlement just to clip you and carry on. You know, and the thing about it is, Greg, somebody will be seriously injured.
Well, they have
not
been,
killed,
you see. We're lucky,
unless...
Kevin, maybe locally it hasn't happened, but around the country it has. Exactly what you're warning of, unfortunately, has happened, where people on scooters have been in collision with pedestrians, and you know the scooter. In some cases, the scooterist has suffered serious injury or loss of life, but the person they've hit's also been killed as well. Like so, I just want to clarify something about the rules, Kevin, and then tease things out with you. It's very specifically against the law to cycle and a scooter on the footpath. You're not allowed to use footpaths, pedestrian areas, or motorways. You can't hold a mobile phone. You can't have a seat on your scooter, and you can't carry passengers or goods. Now, I think you might get away with a backpack, but you can't sort of hang your shopping on the bars, so to speak. But you cannot, according to the law, use an e-scooter in a pedestrianised area or on a footpath. You contacted the guards in relation to this, Kevin. Did you have any satisfaction?
No. All I was told was that there'll be a patrol car in the area and we'll keep an eye out.
Mm.
You know, I was speaking to a counsellor since that as well, and I put the same thing to the counsellor. I says, look, we're as the enforcement on the street.
Mm.
And the counsellor said, well, when I approached them to say the bigger fish is to fry,
well,
like, if you don't have... Things are happening on Letterkenny Main Street, and it's been well publicised over this last month, 2 months, right? But unless we have a presence of our law enforcement on the street, I did use this before flippantly that it's like Dodge City, right? But we need to get some kind of handle on what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And these minor infringements, as you were led to believe that they're minor infringements, need to be nipped in the bud.
Yeah.
Because minor infringements leads to larger infringements.
I think
because
too,
they know
there
they
is,
can get away with it.
and I think you're sort of wrapping up a few different issues, but all of those issues have the same sort of solution, and that's a greater Garda presence on the main street. And I will say, you know, like I have no problem going into Letterkenny Main Street. I do recognise where there are issues. The bottom line is I think there is a window of opportunity. You know, Letterkenny's got nicknames, whether they're right or wrong. People are chatting outside of Letterkenny about whether or not they'd go in there, or they'd discourage their family members to go in there. I think what the people of Letterkenny, especially the powers that be, need to realise is that there is a window of opportunity here to make, to make Letterkenny feel safe. Kevin, do you know what I mean? And I think that window potentially is closing, and then we'll start hearing big time from the businesses. But I think that window is still there, and they need to get their acts together, I think, in terms of people feeling safe and getting these vehicles off the footpaths as well.
They have to clamp it down. Like, I mean, they're going to have to turn around and say, look, we're going to allot 2 guards 5 days a week, 6 days a week, until they get it into people's head that you can't do this. I remember back a couple of years back, 1 guard stood at the box junction at the old courthouse. There wasn't one person went on the box junction. or jumped a red light.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I do,
It's
yeah.
proven.
Okay, and there'll probably be less,
the guards
less
are on the
abusive
street,
disabled
people will
parking.
heed them.
Yeah, less abusive disabled parking as well, less loitering. You know,
same
the
thing.
stuff that makes people feel okay. Right, Kevin, listen, it's got to the point now whereby your wife is experiencing these instances to the point whereby, I presume she's not enjoying her walks like she should be able to.
No, she's not, because you don't know what's coming behind you, because there's no noise out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, back in my day, there was a bell on your bike. Now there's nothing. There's no noise. There's no nothing.
Yeah. Well, your bike and scooter are supposed to have a horn of some description, but they shouldn't be on they shouldn't be on the footpaths one way or other. So that's, even if they made a noise, they're not supposed to be on the footpath. It's against the law.
No, they're not supposed to be on the. They're definitely, and the sooner they get them off, look, it's very simple. To come up the main street means they're going against the flow of traffic, the one-way system. And this is all. There is no logic in what they're doing, and they know they can get away with it, and it's simple and straightforward as that.
Kevin,
if
thank
I went
you.
down the street on the footpath in the car, I'll guarantee you wouldn't get 20 yards.
No, you wouldn't, of course. Thanks, Kevin. That's Kevin there. Have you got similar experiences or similar views? I don't think, because it's against the law as well, and I know this is not just Letterkenny, I think I've certainly spoken to people in Buncrana that have an issue with this. What's the story in Ballabafay, Stranooler? Then you go to the likes of Donegal Town, where it's circular and the road's laid out a different way. I would say there's probably not a big an issue there. I think when you got long main streets, I don't know what the story is in Glenties, for an example. Dunlow would be a challenge. I'm trying to think of other parts of the county with long footpaths and stuff. But anyway, you can help me out on this. Is this a problem in your area as well? What should we do? Are we still talking about having guards on the street of Letterkenny, or any of our streets for that matter? It's very hard to imagine. I'm not going to make any friends with this, but it's very hard to imagine that there isn't one or two people every day that could go out onto the streets as part of their duties. Maybe one and a community guard or something. You don't have to do anything either, really. Just because we're not even getting into the dark mornings and the dark nights properly yet, and this is going to exacerbate the problems. But there has to be a solution that is great PR for the guards, etc., but also actually changes people's behaviour, because we need to change people's behaviour. At the moment, it's fine, because you're not going to get done. You're not going to get into trouble. So you keep doing it, right, until such time as you think, right, I could get into bother here. I don't know. What do you think? And I want to hear what it's like wherever you're listening. I don't know if you're listening in Derry or Strabane as well. Is a particular problem there? Is the issue dealt with differently there? Towns and villages across the region, is this a big problem for you, or specific to some of the cases I've certainly heard of in Letterkenny, and to somewhat lesser extent, but still significantly, in Buncrana as well?
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Farmers in the county are reminded of the following key messages as autumn and winter approaches. Plan to complete the land spreading of slurry by the 8th of October. Farmyard manure cannot be applied to land after the 1st of November. Check and repair gutters and downpipes to minimise soiled water in yards. Ensure that any effluent or soiled water generated is directed to appropriate storage tanks. There should be no direct runoff of soiled water from farm roadways to waters. Play your part in keeping Donegal clean and green.
A laptop with great power, brilliant performance and premium sound, all for just €429. At Ben Sweeney Euronics, get the refurbished HP EliteBook laptop with Windows 11, 32 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. Enjoy a crisp screen display and Bang & Olufsen audio for crystal clear sound. Perfect for work, study or play, all for just €429 with a 3-year warranty, only at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny and the shopping centre Dunlow.
In Ireland, it can be hard to get enough vitamin D from the sun.
But did you know that 90% of us also don't get enough vitamin D from the food we eat? Avonmore Supermilk is packed with goodness and fortified with vitamin D, which helps absorb calcium for healthy bones, so you can be at your best. We can't make the sun shine, but we can help you shine. Avonmore Supermilk, a super source of calcium and vitamin D. Figures based on 2023 FSAI report.
Mother, friend, colleague, taxi driver, chef, dog walker. It's a lot to juggle. My secret? OptiBac, Ireland's most recommended friendly bacteria supplements. Whether it's a capsule for women's well-being or a tasty gummy for gut and immune health. Get 20% off selected favourites in store today. Feel good and opt for OptiBac.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House, Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,550 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot tonight at 8:30.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So windy today with widespread showers or longer spells of rain. The rain will be heavy at times with spot flooding possible and the chance of thunder. Highest temperatures 13 to 16 degrees in fresh to strong and gusty westerly winds reaching gale force at times along our coasts. Comments on our last topic there. Why don't they bring back a Garda foot patrol? Yeah, I think a lot of people would welcome it. The only thing is that the Gardaí aren't the solution to everything, and people think the Gardaí are. But I mean, suppose ultimately the Guards have to enforce the law. That is the principal role, isn't it? So, I'd like to know, Greg, does this apply to a mobility scooter? Surely not. No, mobility scooters are treated at the same. Are surely treated the same as wheelchairs and what have you, aren't they? Let me just double check, because it's a good question, and I will get the answer for you, because that's what we try and do. Yes, you can use a mobility scooter on a footpath in Ireland, providing you stay within the legal permitted speed limit of 4 miles per hour. Larger mobility scooters with higher top speeds can be used on roads or in cycle lanes, but they can't go over 9 miles per hour on the road and must not be used on footpaths. So actually, the interesting thing of that is that it's legal to drive a mobility scooter on the regular roads. But on a footpath, the speed limit is 6.4 kilometres per hour. Users must take responsibility, care for their own safety and the safety of others on the public road. Mobility scooters must be considered medical devices, not vehicles for sale, to avoid tax and insurance requirements. So you need to have a medical reason for having one. There's no differentiation between self-propelled and powered wheelchairs, mobility scooters in the law. So, as I suspected, they're treated the same as wheelchairs. Could the county council not write on the footpath that no scooters or bikes are allowed? Somebody would be badly injured. I've had a few near misses myself. We can't keep talking about these near misses, folks, because someone's going to get seriously hurt. You have as much chance in this of keeping scooters off the pavement in this country or this county as you have of keeping drunk drivers off our roads. No enforcement means no chance. But the majority of people don't drink and drive. It's a tiny, tiny minority. Let's get that tiny minority that use scooters on the footpaths off. We can't throw our hands up and give in, can we? Hi, Greg. Why do the majority of people on scooters always wear black? A very good question. And I've seen them in the piddling rain and at half dark heading up the road here on a scooter and this tiny red light. And I'm thinking, seriously? Are you just rolling the dice on life? It doesn't seem to make sense. All right, keep them coming in. That's quite a busy topic.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out shaneconleycars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana, the biggest direct importer of sofas, beds, mattresses and flooring in the Northwest. Best in stock deals on selected sofas and corner sofas. Best in stock deals on gas lift beds. Best in stock on mattresses. Best in stock deals on laminate flooring, semi-solid flooring and carpets. Full fitting service on carpets and wood flooring. With a free delivery service throughout the Northwest, including all of Northern Ireland. Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana. Always lower prices.
Indulge yourself with friends or a loved one at the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel in Bundoran. A midweek or weekend spa break is the perfect way to escape from life for a while. Take a leisurely walk along the Atlantic coast. Enjoy a dip in our private pool, a plunge in our Canadian hot tub, and treatments of your choice before dining in one of the Holyrood Hotel's acclaimed restaurants. The Spa at Orchids. Book now at holyroodhotel.com.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
It's Patrick Feeney here, and I'm looking forward to the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny this October the 31st and November the 1st. I'll be on stage along with Michael English, David James, Stacey Breen and Jordan McBoden. It's going to be 2 fantastic nights of music and dancing, but spaces are filling fast, so book now at theclanryhotel.com or highlandradio.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, we're going to be reflecting on the local GEA action and looking forward to the DL debate tonight after we get the news headlines at 11 o'clock now from Michaela Clark. Good morning, Michaela.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 9 local councils will hear from independent candidates in the presidential election campaign today on what's been dubbed Super Monday. As of yet, there are no plans to hold a meeting of Donegal County Council to discuss potential nominations. Last week, council officials confirmed 21 people had made contact seeking nominations and they were awaiting direction from the members. Meanwhile, Conor McGregor claims he had the support to become president but was blocked by an outdated constitution. The former MMA fighter has told his followers on X he'll be canvassing again in the future. A court has heard that a man accused of leading a pub crawl of intimidation to issue warnings about drugs in Dungiven is suspected to have been involved in an attack in Lifford earlier this year. Charles Duher, who is in his 20s, was left with life-threatening injuries after being attacked at his home on Collybur Road on January the 20th. 31-year-old Michael Conwell from Castleton Square, Fintona, was seeking bail to attend Balmaslow Horse Fair in Galway. St Eunan's Cathedral in Letterkenny has downplayed an incident at Mass yesterday. There are reports that a man had to be escorted from the cathedral during 8 a.m. Mass as he approached the altar while communion was being prepared. However, in a statement issued on social media, St Eunan's Cathedral claims reports are exaggerated. They say a person who did behave unusually was asked if they needed assistance, after which they left on their own accord and without incident. Diversions remain in place at the scene of a crash in Inishowen this morning. The collision happened on the Clar Road, Redcastle earlier. No serious injuries have been reported. A Donegal TD says the former Lifford Community Hospital building is being refurbished for use by the Children's Disability Network team in East Donegal. Deputy Pat the Cup Gallagher told Highland Radio News that he made contact with the HSC on foot of concerns within sections of the local community that the old hospital building was to be used to house asylum seekers. Deputy Gallagher says he's been assured that's not the case. A Letterkenny business owner is calling for more awareness of the dangers of e-scooter use. Last year, a woman was hospitalised after being knocked down by an oncoming cyclist as she exited Katrina's hair salon. Since then, salon owner Katrina O'Donnell says there has been an increase in e-scooters and bicycles on footpaths. The government is aiming to completely close loopholes used by learner drivers to avoid sitting tests. The coalition is looking at introducing a rule which means that those who are on their learner permit for more than 7 years have to do extra lessons. And former Letterkenny councillor Victor Fisher has been remembered as a man who was hugely passionate about all he did. He was first elected as a Fianna Fáil member of Letterkenny Urban District Council in 1985 and successfully contested 4 more elections, including the final town council election in 2009 before it was abolished 5 years later. The late councillor was laid to rest following funeral mass at St Junan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, yesterday. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thanks so much, Michaela, and I'll be back with Brendan Devaney after we take a short break.
If you were given a €10,000 grant right now to help boost your business, what would you do with it? Interesting. Three's Grants for Small Businesses is back, and we're giving away another €100,000 in cash, products and solutions from 3 to 10 small businesses across Ireland to help their business take off. Apply now at 3.ie/business. 3 Business, where connections come to life. Winner selected by judging panel on review of applications. See 3.ie for terms.
A lot of football over the weekend. I suppose the main page is dedicated to the Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure Senior Football Championship preliminary quarter-finals. Brendan Devaney, good morning to you. How are you?
Yes, Greg. Good man. Yourself?
Good. It's good to have you on the show. Bit unfortunate. We'll start with a little bit of controversy, right? Because controversy's a funny one, isn't it? Because it kind of puts an asterisk over a win and then leaves another group of fans kind of feeling aggrieved. St Eunan's versus Termon. Big result for Termon, but what's the controversy, if any?
Yeah, listen, Rick, there was Termon's last point was scored when they had an extra man on the pitch. So, yeah, bit of controversy about that. Listen, Eunan's, that put them 2 up. Eunan's did get 1 back, but never got the equaliser. It was a 1-point game, so there's 1 point that's questioned. So there's where the controversy lies. Listen, when a player's coming off to replace another player, they have to be. Play can continue as long as that player is almost off the pitch. You know, as long as they're nowhere near
actively looking to go off.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in this instance, Greg, the player was coming off. Now I've even I rang the defender that was closest to him because I was trying to get my head around it last night. Now, doing things against or an objection, now, Greg, it's not something that anybody likes doing. But I wanted to get myself into the mindset. So I asked the player, were you watching that player that was supposed to be off the pitch? And he said, yeah, he was watching him, which meant that he wasn't in the mindset of picking up the player who scored the point. So in that mind, Greg, yeah, I mean, it was the officials that should have stopped or maybe cancelled the point, taken time and cancelled the point and give Termon the ball again to take it over, which should have happened at the time. That didn't happen. Greg, so now it's in the realms of it was a breach. So you're looking at, potentially if Eunan's did object, there could be a fine, there could be a replay, or they could be given the game if they were to object.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to mull that over, right? An awful lot of time and effort has gone into it. And if they feel there's, strong enough grounds in terms of rules being breached, there's probably a responsibility on them for their fans to appeal this, but at the same time they don't want to be seen as sore losers. It's a tough one, but so much goes into these campaigns. There's such dedication and such disappointment when it doesn't go your way. But if it doesn't go your way and you feel that it's outside of your responsibility, it's a toughie, sticky wicket, as they might say in cricket.
Yeah, it is, Greg. Listen, you're 100% right. I mean, it's an awkward one, taking nothing away from Termon. Eunan's were county champions. Termon was going on as underdogs. They played brilliantly. To me, they deserved the victory on the day. But when I look back at where that player was, listen, the officials should have dealt with that there and then, Greg. We shouldn't even be talking about this now. The thing about it is, Greg, is that, to me, and I've spoken about this before in the show, this shouldn't be down to St Eunan's. In terms of dealing with this, the CCC or some level of adjudication should come in and say, because if Eunan's now do this, then they're the bad guys, when really this wasn't their fault.
Yeah, but it's a lot to expect say generally speaking, I'm not speaking about this, but it's very hard, is it not, to expect, say, for instance, the officials to refer themselves effectively on this, to sort of admit that they maybe got it wrong or something was, outside of Eunan's making the appeal, who brings it to the CCC's attention. I think it would be a big ask to expect officials, because they may well rightfully believe they didn't do anything wrong. So I don't see how it finds itself before the CCCC without one of the teams getting involved in it. I know exactly where you're coming from. I'm just trying to figure out how that one might work.
No, that's the way it's set up. Now, the ref can include something in his report, but really that's not what it'll come down to. It'll come down to whether unions want to pursue it any further or not. And, when you see a couple of unions players did complain at the time, you can see them in the video saying here, that guy was on the pitch, there was a spare player on the pitch. At that point, I think the ref needed to go over his linesman and say, was that player still on the pitch? And if he was, they should have retaken the ball, given the ball back to Tiernan and replayed that play basically from where it was. Now, the fact that it's gone to where it is, like you say, that's completely up to St. Unions what kind of course they wanted. And it's a bit, I suppose, like, listen, there's no winners in this, because in my view, when I was playing in that, you never wanted to do anything like this. I mean, we had that objection in '97, which I think haunted Rua and still haunts him, taking a championship off unions the way that happened. And to my mind, there's always this thing of, but then from a union's perspective, did that player interfere with the play?
From a tournament perspective, to a man, do they believe that player wasn't interfering with play, and are they happy enough to proceed in the championship with that big asterisk? I don't know.
I think if unions don't, they just get on with it. They're drawing Leave Connell in the semi, and I mean it's been a phenomenal couple of years from coming one in intermediate last year and how well they're performing this year, but. It's not really down to that, Greg. It's down to the question mark of whether that player interfered with the union's defence when the ball went into the corner forward.
The sense coming in, and I get the impression it's up from Letterkenny, I can sum it up in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. Take your beating unions, bad losers. Okay, but look, anyway, it's not insignificant. Looking at I seen some of the Downings players yesterday, big strong lads, and they've got plenty of games ahead of them, but disappointment despite the spirited fight back. They seem to always be nearly there or thereabouts and then miss out, but Sean McCool said stood strong and they progressed, so another season at this level in this competition over for Downings.
Yeah, and they're competing brilliantly, like you have to say, Maxie down there and Barney and the boys down there, the Kern lads, they've really put a shape in Downings. Coming up from intermediate a couple of seasons ago, they've competed so well in the championship. They could have very easily got a result or beat Leave Connell. Same with Dunlow. Went down and bet Kilcar, who a lot of people are talking about now are dark horses for the championship. So they've had a couple of great performances in it. Maybe a bit disappointing to lose to St. Paul's that day, but certainly as you were saying there. I mean, the pattern of McCool's happened a lot in games. They run on the lead and then they get chased down, and it's happened to them in 3 big championship games now in particular. But at the end, the goals kill it, and just when Downings were trying to get that leveler point, and it looked like the momentum was all with them. McCool's had that second goal. It was a real killer blow for everything they'd put into the game. So it was tough on them. But listen, again, McCool's doing really well this year. They're really, year on year, you got to say Gary Wilson's improving them. And of course, they were playing without Oisin Gallen.
Four Masters are an interesting story. They overcome Glen Swilly. We've talked about the past about them, resurging, maybe not fulfilling potential. Here they are now. Into the last 8 of the biggest competition and getting past Glen Swilly in a tight game.
Yeah, listen, two very young teams, and of course, again, talking about Oisin Gallen, Michael Murphy's been missing for Glen Swilly, and you just think, put him in the mix of that game yesterday, surely that would have been a very different match, if you like. But listen, he wasn't there, and listen, it was a very even first half. Kind of contrasting styles for Masters, maybe going after the ball here up the pitch, Nick Connell Glen Swilly dropping back in the a zonal type play, nothing really at half time, and then blistering start the second half from Four Masters, but then a brilliant fight back from Glen Swilly, some great 2-pointers in it, and again just them late moments in the game, and I suppose the 2 car fellas, particularly Senna and Turla, were probably the difference between the teams, and they've had a lot of ding-dongs at underage, Four Masters and Glen Swilly, so doing a lot of great work at both clubs, but there is this common nature of four masters, Greg, that because of their absolute dominance at every level underage, that it's only a matter of time before they make a breakthrough. And is this a season too early or not remains to be seen. But I think they've got a great management team there too, Barry Dunyan and the likes of Barry Monaghan and Mickey Dock and that in there. So listen, they're on the up and up, but is this a season too soon for them? That remains to be seen, of course.
But you can't not find that out unless you're in it, and they're in the melting pot now. You talk about young players and young teams and people coming through, and Niamh Conlon, a star in Shane Malone as well, featured significantly for them, overcoming Killybegs by a goal and 5 points. They would have been expected to win that game, of course, but still, you have to go out and perform on the day, don't you?
Yeah, because Killybegs are going well. Again, so many teams in Donegal now have become competitive again. You know, if this was played a couple of seasons ago, you wouldn't even think there'd be any closeness in this match. But certainly, Killybegs are getting their act together. Niamh Conlon have had a funny season so far by their own high standards. But certainly, like, when it comes to knockout championship, you do well to bet against them. And of course, if things stay as they are, they play Termon in the semi-finals. So listen, maybe things just starting to come together for Niamh Conlon.
More texts coming in. They're not long. St. Eunan's will beat. Get over it. That's the general thrust of what we're getting in from it. Have I covered all the prelim quarterfinals? There's a whole host of intermediate games and other action too that you're going to be all across, aren't you?
The last one is the prelims all been covered. Yeah, just the other semi-final is Gildo and Kilcar. That's come next week, right? Yeah.
Gildo, yeah, okay. So, what's on the show this evening? You have obviously analysis from all of those games and the ones that we didn't mention. Brendan Kilcoyne's with you and Ryan Ferry, two great lads. It'll be interesting to see if you're as measured in your conversation or if they think St. Eunan's all right. I don't know. I think when you're in studio, we might see the we might see your gums on this one, will we?
I know people are texting. Like, I'm honestly, I don't think like that at all. You know, I'm not.
Chill, dude. I'm only joking.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, people often, like, you know, when you're chairing a show and that, and it's the same actually with Donegal playing. I'm completely open to the process and the rules, and I say hats off to Termon. To me, outside of that situation, I thought they deserved the match. They played really well the week before too, and fair play to them, and that's the way I am about sport. But listen, was there definite a question mark over that McCormick score? There definitely is. So listen, that's not down to me. I won't have any involvement in this whatsoever. That'll be down to.
It's your opinion I want about. Listen, it's all good. It's all good.
I spoke to referees about it this morning. I spoke to the player involved. So that's how I form opinions, you know. And as people saying, this isn't really down to somebody taking a beating in it. This is just round. Was there a breach?
If there were 10 points in it, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. That's the
1 point game, and it's the last score of the game. So listen, there's a question mark there, but all we're doing is throwing out as the back page of the Donegal News says today. You know, there's a potential appeal there. Maybe there won't be any appeal, but that's definitely a big talking point from the championship. As is, you know, the intermediate at the weekend as well got the semi-final stage.
Niamh Mora, big win for them. Niamh Columba, big win for them as well. A high scoring game there as well. Lots of good action. Greg Hughes, Edge Bundoran as well, and I suppose for their supporters, and this is why your show's so great, for the supporters and their teams, they're all recognised, so there'll be plenty of chat about all of that and some of the ones that I didn't get to there as well. Brendan, it is always a pleasure. You're on air live just after the 7 o'clock news. You can listen to the show or indeed head into the den, stick on the TV, the smart TV, open up YouTube and just watch it, man. Just watch it. Chill out. All right, Brendan, take care, buddy.
That's Oisín's point of view on the possible infringement.
Do you know what? I'd love to get him in, sitting down in here, and just thrash it out with him.
Hey, you won't find him now if you go.
No, he's got. What's that? Someone's just ran out the door, Brendan. I don't know what's going on, buddy.
All right, dude.
All right, cheers. Take care of yourself. That's Brendan Devaney there. 08660 25,000. If you've got a view on that, by the way, and I would love if we could introduce a little bit more sport just into the general conversation on the show as well. So feel free to comment at any stage, because that's important too. Some people here, obviously Manchester United fans aren't going to have to phone out today. But if you're into your boxing, maybe you wanted to talk about our new female world boxing champion, or if you wanted to talk a little bit about the football, Finn Harps. I follow Finn Harps. I follow Finn Harps casually, and I never post about them because I'm bad luck, right? I never post about them. So on Friday night, it was Friday night, wasn't it? I put a post for the first time up in ages on my Facebook page. Good luck with Finn Harps against Cork City tonight. Big game. An awful lot in the offing. And I had set send, and blooming hell, Cork City went up and knocked one in and went on to 3-0, win 3-0. And I was just thinking, why did I get involved? Why couldn't I have just let the God, you know what I mean, decide? It seems as soon as I expressed some sort of a support for a football team, they were banjaxed. But anyway, listen, it's been a great season, and promotion is still not out of the question for Finn Harps either. So, athletics, football, boxing, GEA, anything like that there. When at the start of the show, when I say, what do you want to talk about, or what have you got an opinion on, get the conversation started on something like that important for you. People from Termon or St. Eunan's should have been texting us first thing this morning. We can have those convos here as well, notwithstanding the amazing coverage you're going to get tonight on the issue. But if that's something you want to talk about, feel free to get that into us as well. We've well covered now at this point, but you know what I mean.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
All across Ireland, music fills cafes, salons, offices, gyms and restaurants. It creates a vibe, makes people smile. It might even turn a 4-star review into a 5. Music can lift moods, boost sales and improve staff morale. Whether your business plays background radio or a curated playlist, you need a music licence. It ensures music creators are fairly paid for their work. Buy your licence today at imro.ie/pay now. Because music drives business.
I was in pain for over a year. Once I went to see my GP, he referred me to Kingsbridge. My experience at Kingsbridge was fantastic. Everybody was very friendly. They couldn't do enough for you.
Public patients in the Republic of Ireland can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Cabaret 25 at Harvey's Point. We start again on Wednesday, September the 3rd, and every Wednesday until November the 5th. An amazing lineup of stars, gourmet food, the warmest of welcomes, and all in the beautiful surrounds of Harvey's Point on Lough Esk, Donegal Town. Book today 074 972 2208 or harveyspoint.com. The Harvey's Point Cabaret, a night not to be missed.
The Irish Coast Guard is recruiting watch officers for its rescue coordination centres in Valentia, Malin Head and Dublin.
Mayday relay. Mayday relay.
It's our job to coordinate life-saving missions for swimmers, seafarers and anyone else who needs our help.
Copy that, Rescue 115. Position confirmed. Proceed with rescue.
Watch officers stay calm under pressure. We have to. It's how we save lives. Apply today at publicjobs.ie.
Are you going through intense treatment, alopecia or hair thinning? At the Donegal Wig Centre and Patrick O'Day Hairdressing, we have over 30 years experience helping people feel themselves again. In our private consultation suite, we have the largest selection of beautiful wigs and hairpieces in the Northwest, and we're HSE approved. To arrange your private consultation at the Donegal Wig Centre in Letterkenny, call us today on 91254776.
Now, listeners to this programme who've listened over the years would have heard the case of Margaret and Paula Martin. They were victims of Con Cunningham, a former priest of the Diocese of Raphoe. The Diocese of Raphoe has issued an apology to Margaret and Paula. Monsignor Kevin Gillespie is diocesan administrator in the Diocese of Raphoe, and he joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Father. I do appreciate your time.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. As far as you see it, as far as the diocese sees it, How did we arrive at this point today in terms of what these sisters had to endure, the process, and where we're at now?
Well, the apology that was made public today is, I suppose I would want to say, it's really in many respects an initiative of Margaret and Paula in this respect, that again, without wishing to represent their feelings, but as I understand it, that they felt that they had never really gotten answers for a lot of questions that they experienced. There was an experience of non-communication with the diocese that was not helpful. And in a few months ago, they wanted, I suppose, an acknowledgement of what they had experienced, and also I think their wider experience that Con Cunningham's case in particular had, I suppose, caused in various parishes.
In the statement, it reads, "I wish to acknowledge that our diocese failed profoundly in its pastoral responsibilities of care and concern for your well-being during the years from 1994 to 2018. I acknowledge that we failed to fulfil our own policy of reporting complaints of this nature to the civil authorities between 1996 and 2002. I acknowledge that during the period 2002 until Con Cunningham's conviction in 2018, it was not made clear within the diocese that he was the subject of complaints of child sexual abuse and therefore potentially a risk to children." What was happening over those time periods that there was so much that should have been done that wasn't being done? There was information that should have been passed on that there wasn't. Like, what was happening then in this very recent history? And I suppose I'm asking that question with a view to ensuring that it couldn't happen again. In your view, in your investigation, with your knowledge, what was happening within the church over those periods of time that let these sisters down so much? You've acknowledged what actually happened, but what was the culture or the decision-making process, the accidental nature of it, the deliberate nature of it? Can you talk to that for me, please?
Well, I think there was probably the particular and the general. That there were particular failures in this case because Con Cunningham acknowledged, at least sufficiently, for Bishop Hegarty initially to accept substantially that Margaret and Paula were telling the truth. He then was transferred, and there was just a failure then to properly pursue this matter.
Was there a failure or a cover-up, Father?
I think it was a failure rather than a cover-up, is how I would read it. The first guidelines came in. You know, first of all, I want to say Margaret and Paula. It's extraordinary how courageous they were in coming forward in 1994. This was just when these things were really being brought to light. And their motivation at that time was very clearly for the protection of other children who might be exposed to these kinds of behaviours and crimes. And the first guidelines were introduced in 1996. The matter should have been reported to the Gardaí immediately, of course, and ultimately then.
So, Father, just why might it not have been reported to the Gardaí immediately?
I don't have an adequate answer for that, Greg. To be honest with you, there were reports, professional reports were provided on Con Cunningham, and it seems that that a decision was taken or not taken that should have been taken at the time. He should have been removed at that time, and the matter should have been reported.
So it was. Are you saying that? So it was decided not to report it?
Yes.
And who might have made that decision?
Well, there was the diocese was in an interim period after Bishop Hegarty's transfer, and then Bishop Boyce was bishop. He did ultimately take the initiative of reporting it 2002. and this, obviously, Con was removed from ministry at that time.
And there's also an acceptance that it was not made clear within the diocese that this person was the subject of complaints of child sexual abuse and therefore potentially a risk to children. So effectively, the church there, and correct me where I'm wrong because I want to make sure I get this right, is conceding that it knew he was a potential threat to children, but that wasn't made clear. What happened there? What went wrong there?
Certainly in that period, it was the practice in many instances to address a parish where a priest had to be removed on foot of these allegations. In Con Cunningham's case, this was not only he was removed in 2002. He had himself acknowledged, not as fulsomely as certainly his conviction would prove, but he had acknowledged substantially that he had behaved, in a manner that gave credence to what Paula and Margaret had said. And in some way, it would have been certainly better had some sort of communication be given at that time when he was removed from Fulcara for the reasons for his being removed. The lack of this taking place left questions in people's minds. And, there were also narratives partly put out by himself and those that he persuaded that he was treated unfairly. But it would have been much better at the time and much more appropriate to have acknowledged the reasons for his removal.
Explain the phraseology in terms of what led to this apology at the prompting of Margaret and Paula. Is that legalese or has the diocese been pressured into?
No. The Margaret and Paula had approached the diocese, and they wished for a really adequate apology to be issued, and that it would be eventually made public. And this led to a process of engagement. We engaged a facilitator, and I would say that certainly from my perspective, it was a profoundly, very intense, profoundly moving, and also an experience that provided great learning and insight into their experience, into their real life situation throughout this period. And that ultimately then, obviously, we composed this apology after that process of engagement with them face to face. Bishop Boyce and Bishop McGuckian were also present and involved. And then we were very happy to make public this apology. And the purpose of it is to encourage others to come forward. There may be not only victims of Con Cunningham, but of anybody, and to come forward if they haven't done so already. They may not be ready now, but that they would know that they would be supported and encouraged in doing so.
Okay, I mean, can the public be satisfied that, say for instance, there are currently no allegations out there of this nature against a serving priest, either in the diocese where or in the area that the accusations might stem from, or them in a different part of the diocese? There's nothing outstanding at the moment that has not been divulged.
No, there is not. And from 2002, if not before that, all of these matters are reported immediately to the Gardaí, to TUSLA now, which is the competent body, and we have a very active and effective safeguarding officer in the person of Margaret Northwich. And an awful lot of work is done in parishes and training, in our own clergy and in their training as students to address this plague in the life of the church.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Monsignor, thank you so much for your time today. I do appreciate it. Monsignor Kevin Gillespie, Diocesan Administrator with the Diocese of Raphoe. Margaret and Paula Martin have issued their own statement, and it reads, following on from the outcome of the process of engagement with the Diocese of Raphoe regarding their handling of the reporting by us of sexual abuse perpetrated on us by Con Cunningham when we were children, we wish to thank the following: our sons, who lit up our lives from the day they were born and who cemented our courage to keep walking; our families, Brendan, Paula, parents and siblings, for their unwavering support, and our friends for being there; Dr. Brenda Davis, consultant psychiatrist and spiritual healer, for her amazing care, support and love, and for guiding us to transform pain into positive action. Her light is very much part of this day. The GPs at Ballyrain Park Surgery, our counsellors and complementary therapists who supported our mind and bodies through this long process. Our solicitor, Dariana Conlon, our barrister, Fintan Valentine, and the staff of Caldwell and Robinson Solicitors. The expertise of Dariona and Fintan shone every step of the way, not only in their legal support, but also their understanding of the pain and their ability to hold the space with deep compassion. The representatives of the Diocese of Raphoe, Monsignor Kevin Gillespie, Bishop Alan McGuckian and Bishop Philip Boyce, who took the courage to open and participate in this process. Hannah Carney, who facilitated the process with such professionalism, creating a safe place for everyone. Edward Gleeson, who suggested this process of resolution and peace. The very courageous person who successfully took the first case against Con Cunningham. You gave us the courage we needed to speak. Last but not least, deep gratitude to each other for the support, for lifting each other up when we fell, for finding the love and courage in each other to get to this day. Now we look forward to closing the chapter of our lives and allowing healing to finally close these wounds. We encourage others who are suffering in silence to come forward and find the support you deserve. In peace, Margaret and Paula Martin. Now, and I was wondering, had this conversation actually before I knew we were going to be talking about this, if there's something that maybe we need to be doing to try and help people or guide people or advise people if they have been the subject of this type of abuse. And I'll tell you the supports that are there in a moment within the church, but I was minded and not to connect the cases of Edward Gallagher from Orchard Park in Lifford. He came to public notoriety following a video that surfaced on Facebook, and is charged now with one count of attempted sexual communication with a child between the 2nd of April and 17th of April 2025. He's further charged with offences including inciting a child to engage in sexual activity and causing a child to watch sexual activity on the 17th of September. Now, it's reported from that court case that there could be more than 60 possible victims in a case involving a Catholic priest, that being Edward Gallagher. And that's 60 people that potentially now was the right time for them to speak out, or did they speak out and they weren't listened to? Is it the fact that they've seen this person now before the courts and they have the confidence to speak out now? What makes people come forward at this time, and do we have a role, or can we help in that regard? Because, you know, that's one person and one case that we've all stumbled upon, but that's potentially over 60 people that could potentially be impacted by this in one form or other. Trying to choose my words carefully so I don't in any way harm any potential case. But then how many are out there that have suffered this type of abuse at the hands of a priest, at the hands of another person of trust, you know, outside of the family? And, you know, you could be 45, 55, and you could have held on to this trauma for all of this time and feel you can't speak out, or you can't be believed. You know, I mean, if there's any role that we have in getting advice or information or empowering people, I'd love to be involved in that. And I don't know what that is, and I don't know what that looks like. I just wonder, and I'm conscious of when we talk about things like that, this could be bringing to the surface other people's experiences at the hand of a priest or some other trusted person. But if it is to do with the church and you have a concern or a complaint of child abuse, either current or historical, you're asked to contact Margaret Northage, the designated liaison person for this diocese that we're talking of here. It's a different diocese to Edward Gallagher, of course. This is the Diocese of Raphoe. And I have her contact details here. You can also contact TUSLA, the Garda National Protection Services Bureau, or in an emergency, the Gardaí 9167100. There's also free counselling and support available through Towards Healing. It's an independent organisation providing professional support for people who've experienced institutional, clerical or religious abuse in Ireland. I've got all of those numbers here. We might print them on our Facebook page so that you can see them. But as I say, you know, like more than 60 people potentially from this other recent case that have now said, wow, it wasn't just me, or that was me, I was that child at one point, or whatever it might be, and everything has to be proven in a court of law, and I'm speaking quite generally. It's just an awful lot of pain, an awful lot of maybe suppressed memories and what have you. And as I say, if there's a role for us in helping guide people in that situation to the authorities or to peace in themselves or whatever it might be, and I don't know what it is you know, that's what we're here for. That's something we could do. Margaret and Paula Martin, incredible people with what they achieved, and they were supported by incredible people as well, clearly, as stated in their press release. And let us hope, as they, in their own words, that they can now look forward to closing this chapter on their lives and allowing healing to finally close their wounds.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Conas tá cuasaí? Conas tá chlán? Conas tá tú féin? Conas is féidir am cebhar leat?
Tá síon tacaíocht do riine a bhfuil néaltrú arthú leis an gceist conas a chur. Cé gur focail beag é conas, déanann an nasc sóisialta seo differ mór. Má tá aithne agat ar rinne a déan néaltrú a bhaim arthú leabhar leo. Fólam conas is féidir leat cabhair le pobal a thógáil atá cumsíoch ó thaobh néaltrúthe de ag understandtogether.ie ón HSE.
Imagine sinking into a perfect comfort every night. At Restex Beds, we believe a better sleep means a better life. Choose from our vast range of quality mattresses and find the one that's perfect for you. Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
Here, would you look at Eco Enda? He's only after going and getting himself one of the new Skoda EVs.
First he went vegan, then he got solar panels, now this.
I'm sure he'd buy anything as long as he can get a grant for it.
Must be from that county beside Monaghan.
The new fully electric Skoda range. The kind of cars that get the neighbours talking. But only if you're quick. Check availability at skoda.ie. Skoda. Let's explore.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721396.
Thank you for attending this meditation session for badgers who forgot to check for gas pipes before digging, without knowing how disruptive it could be, putting others at risk and doing it unknowingly for all their working life. And it could have been avoided had they just checked in the first place. Let's begin.
Always check for gas pipelines before you break ground. Visit gasnetworks.ie/dig for more information.
Do you sometimes struggle to hear? It could just be earwax and it's easily treated. Hidden Hearing right now are offering free earwax removal for everyone over 60, carried out by our qualified earwax technicians. Call 1-800-370-000 or go to hiddenhearing.ie. Hidden Hearing, your hearing is our expertise. T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Windy today with widespread showers or longer spells of rain, and the rain will be heavy at times with spot flooding possible and the chance of thunder. Highs of 13 to 16 degrees and fresh to strong and gusty westerly winds, and they could be very blowy on Atlantic coasts. Ain't Rep Mary T. Sweeney's back on the show with us because there's another meeting coming up as it relates to traffic issues in Letterkenny. It's an open invitation to all neighbourhoods to public meeting number 2, where you're invited to raise any concerns you might have re traffic and infrastructure, and it's at the Station House Hotel, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny, on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Why the need for the second meeting, Mary? Good morning to you.
Because the initial meeting we had an actual petition form to go out to get people to sign in their neighbourhoods. So it was to bring that back. And since that, I've also met with people from to get community groups set up. We've invited people on the petition to identify if they were interested in becoming part of a residents association or a community group. So tonight we'll collate, on Wednesday night we'll collate all that information and go through it. From those that have come back already, we've been able to email people or send them a text message to say about Wednesday night. And I think a very positive step from the council post our meeting, as there's been multiple acknowledgement at council level of the need for, and thankfully the chairman has said it himself, an actual workshop, all inclusive, all the different bodies brought together with the Residents Association. And that's the success of the people coming together on the street.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really positive, and thank you all the councillors that are now taking this on board, but we need to pursue it and push it further. And we have to thank all yourself, Greg, and all the media for the coverage that they gave, for the opportunity to the public to have their voices and concerns heard.
What do you think can come from this, though, right? So we can get everyone on the same page saying, right, enough is enough, and this, that, and thon. But at the end of the day, too, we do have plans which were approved at council, say, for instance, and some people will think they'll make the situation worse, you know, more traffic lights, you know, lanes being tightened, etc. So what's actually in the planning, by many people's estimation, is actually going to make things worse, right? So outside of that, do those types of works need to be stalled and other measures brought in to try and get traffic moving? Do you know what I'm trying to get at is, what's the end game in all of this, as far as you'd say?
Well, the end game for me is to open up the door that's been closed for a long time with proper, adequate public consultation. So to do that, you need, because Letterkenny's become so expansive. Remember, Greg, I'm from an era that the council came to the meetings with the engineers to the public. Now it's become much more segregated, and it's much more, and even the councillors are telling me that they have difficulties in getting that direct contact. I believe that with the right backing, that our councillors need to take back a bit of the control to make sure that they can represent the views from the public, or they're doing a disservice to the public. From the last meeting, people from the Glencarry area have approached me and asked me, you know, that they need somebody just to facilitate the platform for them to speak. And we need the media then to take those points that they make and bring it into discussion stages, that it can be thrashed out to find the best solution forward. That's all I'm trying to do. And any success is a success. From that last meeting, I see that Donald Coyle had been one of the councillors, has saying that since 2009, there was a planning to put lights on the Old Town Bridge because of a priority by the council, because of the dangers of people trying to cross. Like, it's 2009. It's embarrassing to mention that. And yet people are still taking their life for their hand, crossing the Old Town Bridge, or parts of other areas around the town that are very difficult to cross, the hospital roundabout. Again, a proper, number of pedestrian crosses would be important there.
But that all slows traffic up, though, you see, and this is all about traffic, isn't it, and traffic infrastructure.
No, the priority should be about safety on the roads, full stop.
Okay, so in other words, if Letterkenny gets busier but pedestrians feel safer, that's a price worth paying. For an example.
Well, I think with the proper access roads, with the additional access roads that we all recognise are needed, that will actually make Letterkenny safer from a vehicular point of view. But we also must be very conscious if they're pushing everybody out to bicycles and walking. Now, our weather's very inclement, as they say, and winter's not a great time to be walking or cycling around Letterkenny with the frost and the ice and the landscape and the topography of our environment around here. Then, the reality is we are still going to need roads no matter what Europe wants, if you know what I mean.
No, I get you. Okay, listen, and we'll follow up after the next meeting. It's this Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. at Station House Hotel,
downstairs in the Station House Hotel.
Okay, perfect stuff. Thanks very much for
Greg,
your time.
And thank you for your support.
No problem. Take care of yourself. Right. Now, as is the way now, people are kind of up to high dough, and if they see any development whatsoever, they either suspect themselves that it's going to be an iPass centre or something along those lines, or there are those, and it's quite lucrative actually, that will sort of try and stir that because it boosts engagement. So we were concerned and contacted by concerned people about the status of the old Lifford hospital, people claiming work was ongoing and there wasn't planning permission and so on and so forth. But just to get clarity for you, that the HSE is currently carrying out refurbishment works at the old Lifford Hospital. These works are planned to last for 6 months, and once complete, the building will accommodate the Donegal East Children's Disability Network team. So there's 6 months of work ongoing, and it is with a review to repurposing that building to accommodate the Donegal East Children's Disability Network team. So just to be absolutely clear in relation to that. Now, Grania Griffin is Director of Communications with Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, the CCPC, and joins us on the programme now. Hiya, Grania.
Good morning.
Right, we learned today that more than a quarter of Irish adults have no financial arrangements for retirement, an increase on 21% last year. That feels low to me. You know, well, maybe it's just the circles I move in or the county and the region I'm from, but I would say it's probably closer to half. But I'm anecdotal, you're working off stats. What's your feelings?
Yeah, it's disappointing. Certainly in the CCPC, we are disappointed with the results that we saw this year. We're not seeing any increase in the number of people who hold a pension. And then usually we would also see a lot of people who say, I don't have a pension, but I have another plan. Like maybe I'm planning on buying a property and renting it out, or I'm planning on selling a rental property and using that income. And that has completely fallen off over the last couple of years.
So that's a good, that was going to be one of my questions. So say, for instance, someone is in a 5-bed house, they're going to downsize and move into a smaller property, and that gap they're hoping will assist them through their later life. That would be classed then, would it, as whether it's a good one or not, a financial arrangement for retirement?
If the person declares it as that. So we do ask people, have you got a plan, and what would it be? So yeah, what we're seeing here and the numbers that we're highlighting are the number of people who just say, I don't have a plan. I don't know what I'm going to do. And within that group, you see a lot of people saying, well, yeah, look, I'll get the state pension. But the state pension, as you no doubt know, is less than €300 a week. And so you are looking at potentially people really seeing this huge drop in income when they reach retirement. And really that's very concerning, because as you will know, that to get a pension that's really going to cover your needs, you need to start as early as possible so it can build up over time. But also, it's never too late. And so to that big cohort in their 40s and their 50s or even 60s out there who don't have a pension, we would be saying, please do book an appointment with a financial advisor, or ask your employer to put you in touch with a financial advisor and get a plan started, because it's not too late and there's huge tax benefits.
Yeah, I'm kind of maybe of a generation that has a distrust of this, that pension pots might be raided, that I'm committing, you know, financially money that I don't really necessarily have every week or month or whatever it might be, in the hope that at some point it will make my life so better. So how do you convince someone like me to not you literally, obviously, Grania, you have enough on your plate, right? But to trust the system that it is a fair bet for a more comfortable retirement?
Well, pension products are highly regulated, and I think people are right to be cynical when it comes to financial products. We see a lot of people who go looking for a great deal, or, you know, starting thinking about things like crypto or other kind of radical new investments, and who lose a lot of money. I think the thing with the pensions industry is that it's highly regulated, very established, and it has been in place for decades, so we can see the results. And people do get pensions as a result of investing in pensions, and those pension products become more conservative the closer you get to retirement, to make sure that you don't lose your money. So obviously there are always risks. There's risks with every type of financial product, but ultimately the risks with pensions are much smaller than the risks of going into your retirement unprepared. Because ultimately, when you stop earning, you still have potentially decades of your life ahead of you, and all sorts of costs, including rising healthcare costs and all these things that you need to meet. And that's what pensions are there for.
Maybe able to catch in this, so maybe it's a different piece of work, of how many don't have it, not because they're ignorant or they're living for the day, but simply can't afford it. You know, this, again, maybe it's the circles I mix in, but there's not a ton of space there to sort of start putting money away for a rainy day when it feels like you're drowning today.
Yeah, something we always look at in the CCPC when we go out about pensions is to try and understand what is it that's driving people? Is it just an affordability issue, where they really want it, but they just can't make things stretch any further? Or is it just that they haven't got around to it, or it's too challenging? And what we've seen is that the cost of it does come through as a significant factor, but that's actually going down. It's around a third. So for the other 70%, they haven't put it in there as their main reason. We see things like, I do plan to do it, but I just haven't got around to it. So yes, for some people, it will be a cost issue. And I suppose what is worth exploring there is just how much tax back you get. And so how even giving a very, very small amount regularly, getting tax relief.
Is there a possibility of giving an example about that? If there is a typical example of what that actually means? So, what is there a figure? Is there a recommended monthly figure that you should be paying into a pension? And then what would be the tax advantages of that? Grania, I know you're in the Director of Communications bracket, and I'm asking sort of legal questions, and maybe it's just not your wheelhouse. You're brilliant in what you're doing. But I think sometimes maybe people don't get over that first step to explore it. Maybe it's a different, separate feature we could do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question, and there is more information coming out on this all the time. And I suppose, not to duck it in any way, but it does depend on the person's circumstances, because people live wildly different lives. Some people live very humble, low-cost lives, and other people live very extravagant lives. And people have very different expectations of how they plan to live in retirement. So I suppose the general guide that you would give people is, assuming that you don't have substantial housing or rental costs into retirement. So if you are in the position where you will have paid your mortgage, maybe you're not going to be renting, then they say round about half of your current income is probably what you'll want in retirement. So obviously for someone who's on 100,000, that's 50,000. For someone who's on 40,000, that's 20.
Yeah.
But that's your starting point, is work out what you might want. Then you're looking at the public sector pension. If you have a full, if you've got stamps or you've got credits, you've got a full, then that's going to bring you maybe 15,000 or so potentially, maybe a bit less. And then you're looking at the difference. And then really it depends on when you pay in, and when you start paying in, how much time and how much opportunity there is for your money to build up. But for, say, somebody who starts investing early in a pension and they pay into it over their whole career, by the time they retire, maybe a quarter of that will be actually what they've paid in, and the other 75% might be what they've earned on what they've paid in. So it can be that big of a difference, where your actual contribution might only be a quarter of your pension. Everything else is what you've earned as it's accumulated over the course of your career.
And I'm short on time, but I appreciate yours. 18 to 24-year-olds, 18% have a pension. I mean, there's an age factor there, but also I wonder, is there mums and dads going, well, we never had one, and it's a waste of money, and you never know what might happen, or is it that they don't know the options that are there, or maybe they don't see the fat and the wages to afford it? I wonder what's going on with that age cohort, because it's much easier if they start.
Actually, I would say that age cohort, when you look at the data, are the most responsible. They are the least likely to say that they don't plan to ever have a pension. And in fact, most of them either say that they've plenty of time, they're getting to it, but they've lots of time, or they plan on starting soon. Actually, a third of them say they plan on starting soon. So we do seem to have quite a responsible generation of young people out there. And of course, they are facing all sorts of other costs as well, in terms of housing and saving for houses and all of those. So we'd be conscious that I think it's really people who are in their 40s, in their 50s, or maybe late 30s that you'd be really encouraging to move as quickly as possible to set up an appointment with a financial advisor and get a private pension or a supplementary pension in place, so that they're adequately protected for retirement.
And of course, people might think that this new opt-out system coming up is the answer, but there's perhaps better tax incentives with a private pension. Look into all of that and seek independent advice, I would suggest. Would you?
Absolutely. I mean, the auto enrollment is going to be a brilliant initiative, and in the generations to come, we should see this sea change in pension coverage and protection. But if you were already over 30, or you're on the higher rate of tax, potentially you really need to be taking out a private pension. The starting contributions for auto enrollment are really very low, and you really need to probably be paying more, or potentially looking at a different type of product to get the best possible outcome for your retirement.
Or I might try and find an elderly millionaire and marry them, but that's not good advice. Thanks very much, Grania. Look after yourself. Thanks for your time. That's Grania Griffin, Director of Communications at the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Lots of you texting in. I find the whole... I don't think it's me discouraging or giving a view. I just sometimes find the pensions a little bit like the private health insurance. It would be great to be able to afford it, but I think so many of us feel that we can't, because you come to the end of the month and you don't have anything spare that you could put in towards the pension or put in towards private health insurance. That's how it feels. Honestly, that's how it feels for me. I don't know about you guys, but anyway, listen, loved your company today. Thanks so much for